You and I are about to watch a guy get betrayed in the worst way possible. In this brutal game, newbies are treated like trash, and she is about to pay. Our main character was humiliated for being weak, completely unable to find a party. But then this girl showed up, claiming he was the perfect partner. She flattered his gear, calling him a real knight. That single compliment was all it took for him to start planning their entire future together, from marriage to kids. But once they reached a quiet spot, she literally pierced his heart with her magic staff. Collapsing to the ground, he asked why she would do this for cheap loot. She laughed, saying she did not need his trash gear. She even insulted him, calling him a beggar's kid with the worst equipment in the game. After completely shattering his pride, she finished him off, admitting she was sick of losers. By eliminating her 1000th newbie player, she unlocked a secret class, officially becoming the first goddess of chrono life. Thrilled with her new title, she left for her next mission. Meanwhile, our poor hero faced a brutal death penalty, respawning in town with half his experience gone. Stung by the humiliation, our main character, Jiu, decided to risk everything by upgrading his basic starter gear. He tried to upgrade his sword, but failed miserably. Frustrated, he tried upgrading his gloves next. Another epic fail. After multiple desperate hammer strikes, Jiu ended up destroying all his gear without a single success. With his virtual life ruined, he broke down. Just then, a common twig fell right next to him, a useless starter item most players throw away. Now pay attention to this part because his intrusive thoughts took over. He gave the twig a smash and it actually upgraded, adding +1 damage. Fueled by sheer spite, Jiu kept hammering the useless stick, fully expecting it to break. Yet, his final strike somehow maxed the weapon out to level 99. Stunned by this glitch, Jiu fumbled and dropped the stick. The moment it hit the ground, the game registered it as an attack, triggering a colossal explosion. The blast was so devastating it nearly split the entire world apart. As he stared at the craters, frantic system alerts revealed he had just broken the game record. 850,617 players were wiped out. Armed with this broken power, Jiu vowed revenge on everyone who doubted him, starting with that goddess. Penniless and wearing rags, Jiu was minding his own business when an aggressive player bumped into him and picked a fight. Jiu calmly warned him. With a single tap of his stick, the aggressive player vaporized, taking half the city street with him. The terrified crowd instantly knew he was the culprit. Though feeling confident, a warning flashed before him. The stick only had a durability of 3 out of 5 left. Realizing he was limited, he hit to plan. He held the ultimate weapon, but with only 3 strikes remaining, wasting them on petty fights made no sense. Instead, he decided to gain instant fame by taking down the game's ultimate boss. Stepping into the Valley of Death, Jiu was met by a deafening roar from Urus, the two-headed dragon and strongest boss in Chrono Life. The dragon tried to intimidate him, but a swift tap instantly blew off one of its heads. Shocked by the absurd power, the giant beast immediately wanted to negotiate. You and I both know Jiu was not here to talk. With limited attacks left, he needed this boss dead right now to max out his level. He delivered another blow, leaving the mighty dragon near death. But as Jiu sighed over his breaking weapon, the desperate beast proposed a deal to save its own life. Losing patience, Jiu told him to spit it out. The dragon explained that fusing a powerful soul into a weapon creates an ego-class item, granting it infinite durability. The catch? Jiu had to form a pact with him, allowing the dragon to survive as a conscious soul sealed directly inside the wooden stick. Without hesitation, Jiu agreed. Urus fused his soul into the wood, upgrading it to a legendary ego weapon with infinite durability. At last, his revenge could begin. Now he could unleash hell without any limits. Meanwhile, the kingdoms went into a frenzy, plastering wanted posters of Jiu everywhere with an astronomical bounty of 1 billion gold. To make matters worse, elite adventurer guilds from across the realm arrived to hunt down this massive threat. The leaders of the 5 strongest guilds in Chrono Life united with one massive mission: to hunt down the dangerous player who vaporized over 850,000 users at once. To lead this grand alliance, they chose the most respected warrior of all, Castle King Arden, leader of the legendary Justice Guild. Under his watchful gaze, the massive world union declared war on Jiu. Meanwhile, completely oblivious and armed with his infinite weapon, our hero was happily strolling through the capital when something startled him. A strange little creature popped out of his stick. It was actually Urus, the mighty dragon, looking surprisingly cute in his new miniature form. The only Jiu could see him, their peaceful moment was cut short. Spotting a strange piece of paper on the ground, Jiu picked up his own wanted poster. He froze in shock upon realizing that thousands of these posters were plastered on every single wall in the city. Yet, Urus cheered in absolute delight. The dragon praises Hungam, noting that wiping out over 800,000 people in one hit was a feat even he could never pull off. Plus, that 1 billion gold bounty translated to real cash. Jiu questioned how an in-game entity could use modern slang, but Yuru shrugged it off, pointing out that since he was technically dead, the rules did not apply. He then asked his leader what the plan was, warning him that bounty hunters would be coming from everywhere, even suggesting they should just eradicate all players entirely. Jiu looked back at the craters he made, then stared at the posters. Honestly, he did not hate the attention at all. He felt like an absolute celebrity. He declared that he would have to adopt the LHS style, leaving the dragon highly confused. He explained it stood for loser hiding strength, where an overpowered god pretends to be weak. Yura's questioned why anyone would want people treating them like trash. Jiu laughed, promising it would be incredibly fun. He asked if the dragon had never heard of a hidden main character who acts weak but secretly rules the world. But his fantasy was violently interrupted when an arrow struck him. Yura gasped as Jiu collapsed, coughing up blood. As he fell, the dragon flew around him in a panic. Up on a nearby rooftop, the sniper Hawkeye watched, holding a rare glowing cyan bow. Confirming the hit, his troops rushed in. Trust me, you and I are about to see a massive army completely surround our fallen hero. Hawkeye ordered his troops to capture the dangerous criminal who took out 800,000 players. With a deafening roar, the entire army prepared to drag him away to dungeon. All right, you and I are about to watch a total monster wake up. Eurus is panicking, begging his brother to stand because even weak humans are dangerous in crowds. But despite that arrow in his chest, Jiu rises to face the Arden army. The soldiers scream that the target is back up. Hawkeye orders them to swarm him instantly without giving him room to breathe, while Eurus calls out to his brother in fear. But Jiu is done playing nice. He tears the arrow right out of his chest, slamming it down in sheer disgust. Gripping his staff, he mutters that he really just wanted a quiet life as a background extra. But these fools brought this nightmare on themselves. Massive, blinding energy erupts, lighting up the sky as he swings his staff, unleashing a strike like a literal nuclear bomb. Just like that, the entire army falls dead. Hawkeye coughs up blood, barely clinging to life. He cannot comprehend what just happened. His entire force was wiped out in a single second. In pure horror, he realizes the capital of the First World has been completely erased. Then, suddenly, Jiu is standing right there, staring down at a terrified Hawkeye. As our main character approaches, the desperate elf pulls out a massive summoning orb. He breaks it instantly, activating a giant magic circle to call in as many reinforcements as he wants. Dozens of portals tear open. Hawkeye screams for the entire Union to teleport in. Tens of thousands of players start pouring out of every gateway, but Jiu just stands there, totally unfazed. Now pay attention to this scale. A massive army of millions from the World Union completely surrounds him. Nearly 3 million players have gathered just to take down one man. Hawkeye points and orders the charge, sending a tidal wave of warriors rushing forward. Faced with this massive horde, Jiu just lets out a tired sigh. He casually raises his staff. With one simple swing, he wipes out an entire front line of soldiers. Anyone caught in that path is instantly vaporized into nothingness. While Eurus watches in absolute disbelief, Jiu swings back and thrusts forward, erasing another massive chunk of the army. Even the mighty dragon is completely stunned by this power. Eurus recalls his own warning about being overwhelmed by numbers. To him, that was basic logic. No matter how powerful a dragon is, fighting millions of enemies at once should be suicide. The World Union is not some weak guild. They are elite rankers from across the globe. Honestly, even Urus and his entire dragon army might struggle to survive this onslaught. That is why he wanted to run away. But clearly, he was completely wrong. Seeing a supposed opening, a few enemy soldiers charge forward with their swords and spears raised. They leap into strike, but Jiu barely moves his staff, disintegrating them on contact. With a simple flick, yet another massive layer of the army is cleanly split in half. In the back, the mage Abracadabra and her support team quickly prep a spell. Jiu senses the danger, turning to find a massive magic circle taking shape in the sky. She unleashes an ancient destruction spell designed to turn him to dust. A massive beam of raw energy comes roaring down, and Jiu looks up, slightly surprised. He actually thinks the spell has a pretty cool name, making him realize he needs to name his own ultimate moves as well. So he swings his staff upward, a slash so massive it tears past the atmosphere. Calling it Arise, he completely shatters the magic circle and the ancient spell. Shocked, Abracadabra asks how he broke her ultimate magic. The royal sorcerers prepare their next move, but before they can react, Jiu swings his wooden stick once more. This simple attack slices through the entire battlefield, sending the mages flying. This 1 versus 3 million matchup is not just a slaughter, it is a complete disaster. Now I know what you were thinking, how is this guy so broken? Well, the World Union is completely crushed. Hawkeye kneels in terror, sweating bullets as Ju suddenly appears right before him. Ju tells him he intentionally spared him, claiming it is tough to hold back his power. The trembling elf asks why he was left alive, and Ju just sighs at the obvious answer. He was the one who shot the arrow earlier. Before Hawkeye can panic, Ju's staff smashes into his face. Naturally, this insane battle goes viral, trending with gamers and non-gamers alike. Even after all that destruction, the basic stick is completely undamaged, which Ju closely analyzes as he finishes off the elf. Eurus cheers for his amazing brother, while Ju wonders where the dragon had been hiding. But suddenly, sensing a presence behind him, he turns around to face a mysterious girl. He groans, thinking another annoying challenger has arrived. But then, he recognizes her face. The two of them stand in silence, locking eyes on the blood-soaked battlefield. It is the goddess of life herself. Recognizing her, a deep rage boils inside of Ju. Nobody could have predicted this reunion, but she just smiles and says, "It has been a long time, Mr. Ho." The sunset reveals a horrific view littered with 3 million bodies and countless weapons scattered across the red dirt. Standing right there together, the scene feels incredibly dramatic. But as Ju remembers the moment she cruelly insulted his parents, his hands begin to shake with absolute fury. Despite the burning rage inside him, he can't help but let out a cold laugh. The goddess asks how he is doing, casually commenting that it must be fate bringing them together like this. Ju scoffs at her words, saying that seeing her face just feels like running into a giant curse. The goddess merely giggles, asking if she really makes such a bad impression. While he admitted he really wanted to break her skull, he still had a question first, asking if she recently dyed her hair. She happily confirms it, explaining that taking his life let her unlock a secret goddess class, which changed her look. Ju just stares back with a chilling, cold gaze. He lifts his staff, noting her class should be called Goddess of Death instead, since she took thousands of lives to get it. She playfully agrees, but Ju is deadly serious. He slams his staff down, launching a massive energy blast right at her. He yells that the small talk is over, and now it is time for the crushing part. She complains that he is moving too fast, but the shockwave completely levels the area anyway. As Ju looks through the smoke, her voice echoes behind him, wishing they could chat longer. Instantly spinning around, he smashes his staff down again, shattering the earth in front of him with another blast. Watching the chaos, Eurus cheers that his brother landed a direct hit. He calls it a beautiful strike. Ju grunts, saying it is obvious, since those innocent-looking types are usually nothing but talk. But as the dust clears, he sees she is still standing there completely unharmed, watching him calmly. She admits he has grown much stronger than before. She mocks his attack as far too weak to kill her. Eurus panics and points out that she is still breathing, and a highly annoyed Ju tells him he already knows. Suddenly, Eurus realizes her eyes are locked onto him. He freaks out, wondering how it is possible for anyone other than his brother to actually see him. Ju admits it is weird. He knows his strike landed, so her being completely fine is impossible. The goddess just laughs, asking if a mortal really thought he could hurt a deity. And trust me, you and I are about to see a real god fight. Ju pretends to be shocked, gets seriously mad, and charges straight at her. All right, you and I are diving right into an epic showdown as the goddess takes a direct hit from a massive blast. But Ju keeps pushing, unleashing another explosive strike without giving her a second to breathe. He keeps up the insane assault, literally cracking the planet apart. Eurus is completely blown away, noting the entire continent is shaking and heading for total destruction, but the goddess just laughs it off as useless. Wearing a smug smile, she spreads her wings and soars high above our hero. While Eurus watches in shock, Ju starts sweating bullets, his body clearly reaching its absolute limit. Her wings dissolve into a flurry of floating feathers as she steps closer. She mockingly asks what Mr. Hao would do, taunting him about how obsessed he must have been with taking her life. Whispering right in his face, she tells him to just give up. She brags that no matter how much power he gains or how much time passes, killing her is completely impossible. Ju just stares at her, then closes his eyes and lets out a heavy sigh. When he turns around and walks away, the goddess asks if he is finally throwing in the towel. Instead of replying, our main character just swings his stick through the air. He casually mentions he was only testing its strength, wondering if he could actually break the weapon in half. She scoffs, repeating that nothing will work against her. But Ju drops a massive truth bomb he was never aiming at her, but at the entire planet. The goddess is left completely stunned. Since he cannot beat her directly, his genius backup plan is to blow up the world. She will either vaporize in the blast or get thrown into the freezing vacuum of space. She stares in pure disbelief, asking if a mere human could actually pull off something so insane. Jiu calmly confirms it, promising to strike the ground with everything he has got. He even points out that he did something similar earlier today without using his real power. Her face goes pale. She argues that destroying the planet means he will die too, turning his ultimate revenge into a pointless, tragic suicide mission. She demands to know if that would actually make him happy. But Jiu, remembering how much he suffered to learn the harsh truth of this game, just starts laughing like a maniac. Only the strong survive here. He tells her to pay close attention because it is time for a lesson, claiming arrogant gods like her will never truly understand how the world works. Raising his staff, Jiu warns her never to mess with someone who has absolutely nothing left to lose. Don't blink, because as the terrified goddess begs him to wait, he swings his legendary weapon with all his might, shattering the world. Both the goddess and Urus are swallowed by the devastating explosion, while Jiu just wears a sinister, triumphant grin. The continent splits into 6 massive chunks, tearing planet Earth apart before detonating like a supernova. This cosmic explosion ripples across the entire Chronolife universe, wiping out everything with a single full-power strike from our hero. Endless lines of system data scroll down the screen. Meanwhile, back in the real world, a lazy game center employee is fast asleep inside a room full of virtual reality pods. Suddenly, a frustrated gamer screams after getting kicked out of Chronolife, utterly baffled about why he got disconnected right before even reaching the final boss of the raid. Angry players demand answers, accusing the startled worker of flipping the main power switch. Now fully awake, the employee begs them to calm down, explaining that this was definitely not a local power outage or a trip breaker. One guy guesses it is a server-side issue from Crawley, the company behind the game. Right then, another player yells that an emergency update just dropped on their official homepage. The announcement confirms a massive server failure for Chronolife, with no clear return date in sight. Everyone is completely shocked that a game this huge actually crashed so hard. Yet, one single player is still online. His pod remains fully active despite the global crash. Meanwhile, deep inside the game, a strange synchronization screen pops up. The client updates to version 1.7, scanning for active players. The total count is exactly 1. Jiu wakes up in a void, surrounded by floating lines of digital code. Looking around in total confusion, he wonders where he ended up, since he should have logged out. Suddenly, a mysterious voice echoes, mentioning the name ST-389. The voice explains that was the name of the planet Jiu just completely vaporized, a world famous for its beauty in the 4th universe and their mother's absolute favorite spot. Stunned, Jiu quickly spins around to see who is speaking. Jiu asks who the hell he is. The blonde stranger tells him to shut his mouth, but then a creepy grin spreads across his face as he says he is God. Our hero just sighs in response. Jiu tells him he does not care about his identity, asking if he has seen a black-haired woman nearby. But God calmly replies that they are the only 2 left in this empty void. To prove it, a system alert pops up in front of Jiu, showing the active player count is indeed exactly 1. God asks what is wrong with him, pointing out that destroying the planet meant killing everyone instantly. With every single soul wiped out, Jiu just starts laughing, leaving God totally confused. And yeah, I know what you're thinking, but our hero is just ecstatic that his revenge is finally complete. He is absolutely thrilled, shouting that this is the real reason he plays. He calls out for Urus to join him in celebrating, but his calls are met with absolute silence. Jiu slams his stick down, desperately calling for his dragon companion once more. God repeats that they are totally alone here, so he shouldn't expect that kid to show up, leaving Jiu deeply confused. Since the active user count is only 1, Jiu asks if he is just an advanced NPC or the server administrator. God replies he is neither, but before he can explain, space-time cracks and drowns out his voice. He sighs, complaining about outside interference. Suddenly, a blinding beam of light shines directly in the center of the room, illuminating Jiu's face. God says it is a shame but nice meeting him, telling Jiu to say hello to the little furry one. Jiu yells for him to wait, but a flash of light blinds him as the mysterious deity vanishes. With the server fully shut down, our hero gets forcibly disconnected. Back in the real-world cabin, his pod is the only active one left. It opens with a hiss, revealing his real-life body. Pulling off his virtual reality headset, Jiu grumbles about why that weird guy had to show up right at his moment of triumph, utterly confused by his parting words about some furry little creature. Just then, he notices a mysterious blonde man with a cigar in his mouth, staring straight at him. The stranger stands up, walks over, and recites his personal info, naming him Lai Ji Wu, age 21. He mentions Ju has played Chronolife for 3 months using a level 99 wooden stick. Ju confirms it is true, instantly demanding to know who this strange man actually is. Taking off his glasses, the man boldly declares he is there to steal Ju's famous weapon. Ju tries to process this crazy situation, remembering he is just an ordinary college student who loved gaming. He was a total beginner until a massive stroke of luck allowed him to upgrade a basic stick to level 99. With that broken weapon, he took down everyone he hated, including his cheating ex-girlfriend. After his self-proclaimed deity appeared and vanished in-game, he now finds himself sitting in a high-end restaurant guarded by suited men, while the blonde stranger happily devours his food. Ju just watches in silence. Telling Ju to eat, the stranger praises the restaurant owner's cooking. Ju takes a bite, completely lost. As the man explains this, Gukbap joint was his go-to spot back when he was completely broke. That was 15 years ago, right when his company started developing Chronolife. Connecting the dots, Ju suddenly realizes the legendary figure sitting right in front of him. Stunned, he watches as the blonde man formally introduces himself as Choi Diabe, the actual president of Chronolife. Ju admits he thought they were gangsters, asking who the other men are. Diabe replies they are just game developers and modelers. Now, you and I are going to have to wait and see why the actual president of Crowley came to find our hero personally. Stick with me here, because we are about to watch a gamer lose his mind. I am here to take back that level 99 stick, Diabe says, leaving our main character completely frozen. As developers, we have to retrieve glitched gear. But I did all the enhancing. Ju protests. Diabe just smiles and says 3% is the success rate of upgrading an item 10 times. And past that, the success rate drops even lower. You know how it is. Ju stood there stunned, but he argued that if it was not a bug, then a chance is still a chance. He stood up from the table in anger, but Diabe just sighed, warning him that the level 99 stick was staying with the company. Meanwhile, near the town of Frontal, a massive beast approached the fields. It was a level 21 Garus. A nearby player party readied their weapons, shouting warnings. Their mage quickly cast a fire spell, launching a massive fireball that completely engulfed the beast. The monster roared in agony. Seeing his chance, the party leader celebrated and ordered his team to hit it again. Suddenly, a girl named Kyan unleashes her skills and charges the beast alone. The leader screams at her to stop, but the monster violently slaps her, launching her high into the sky. She crashes straight into their healer, knocking both of them out of the fight. In a total panic, the rest of the team realizes they are doomed and scream at everyone to run. Observing this disaster from afar, our main character stands still for a moment. He sighs deeply, wondering if he should actually get involved in this mess. Right next to him, Uruz is casually chewing on some chicken, asking his big brother what the plan is. Jiu thinks for a bit, checks his basic stats, and remembers their talk at the diner. Diokbi had declared he was keeping the plus 99 stick, leaving Jiu anxious. But the executive simply stated it was the company's final decision. Jiu complained it was unfair, but pay attention here. Diokbi revealed that after a full investigation, the stick was totally legit, and they would never touch his account again. Whether he took down the ultimate raid boss, wiped out 3 million other players, or literally blew up the world, he was free to do whatever he pleased as a player. Then, Diokbi tossed some salted greens into his soup, telling Jiu that making the choice was entirely up to him. Clutching his plate, Jiu slowly stood up from the table. But right then, the restaurant owner smacked Diokbi right on the head, scolding him for ruining the broth. She yelled that she spent all night boiling that soup for him, only for him to ruin it with cheap toppings, driving her absolutely crazy. Watching this chaotic scene, Jiu quietly put down his greens. Now, back in the present, he stares at his stick, comparing his choices to that soup. Suddenly, he hears the party leader nearby screaming curses. The guy is raging at Kion, calling her a useless trash player who cannot even hold her position, which is basic common sense for a party hunt. To him, she was just a terrible troll. And because of her stupid mistake, their entire hunt was ruined the second she decided to join their group. Jiu suddenly remembers a small favor Diokbi asked of him. He said that even if it sounded weird, Chronolife was actually a beautiful game filled with freedom, romance, and adventure. It was a massive fantasy world beyond anything imaginable. So instead of breaking it, he should just enjoy his time. Jiu thinks about those words for a second. Suddenly, the toxic leader spits right on the girl, hitting her scarf. He barks at her to get lost, refusing to play with someone using such garbage-tier gear before walking away in disgust. So Kion gets kicked out. Now, let's pause here. We both know Jiu hates trouble, but in a survival of the fittest game, this cruelty is pretty normal. Remembering Dakby's words, he decides he will indeed enjoy this game in his own unique style. After all, he prefers his soup with extra heavy toppings. With that thought, he raises his staff to unleash an energy blast at the toxic group, but freezes when he hears a sharp scream. Ju looks over. Kion is screaming at the top of her lungs that this stupid game can go straight to hell. She screams that those toxic players have no taste, because her weapon is actually amazing and cost her a fortune to buy. Jiu watches her in surprise, instantly remembering when he used to say the exact same things about his own gear. Back then, everyone looked at him like he was crazy too. Kion yells that she does not need anyone anyway, and she will never join another group to hunt. She will do it solo. Jiu sighs, not knowing what to make of her. Right then, a terrifying growl echoes as a monster appears right before her eyes. Actually, she is completely surrounded by beasts and freezes in terror. She stands paralyzed. The monsters bare their fangs, letting out a deafening roar as they charge straight at her, closing the distance instantly. Kion braces for the impact, but Jiu suddenly leaps in front of her, questioning his own life choices. He swings his basic staff, unleashing a devastating blast that completely disintegrates every single monster in his path. As the smoke clears, Kion slowly uncovers her face and looks up at our hero. Above him, the sky is perfectly clear, without a single cloud left in sight. Jiu wonders if he saved her out of pity or gamer solidarity, but quickly realizes it is neither. He did it simply because it seemed like fun. Thinking that, he flashes her a friendly smile, leaving her totally bewildered. He walks over, realizing things are getting a bit messy. This was only the prologue of the entire story. He asks if she wants to team up, but the girl just snaps, telling him to beat it because she does not carry low-level newbies, spitting on the ground as she stomps away. Jiu stands there dumbfounded, realizing his heroic entry did not go smoothly at all. Meanwhile, back in Seoul, everyday life goes on, but everyone has their eyes glued to their phones. A massive event had captured global attention, a day now known as Judgment Day. The entire internet was arguing over one burning question. Who was the player who wiped out 800,000 people? Was he a god of war, the absolute strongest player in Chrono Life? But one famous gamer claimed it was all a lie. He argued that nobody could be that strong naturally, meaning it had to be a glitch or a filthy cheater. Honestly, it was a fair point. Going up against 3 million opponents makes zero sense, and no amount of skill or high stats could ever close that gap. Angry players demanded justice, begging for this hacker to get a permanent ban and for the developers to step up. Every eye was locked on the game company, waiting for an official response. Finally, the statement dropped. While furious players were calling for his head, the developers announced that this mysterious user was just a regular, legitimate player. Their investigation proved he was not cheating, nor using any exploits. The community was left completely stunned, and just like that, the wild conspiracy theory was put to rest. Out in the real world, it was the only topic of conversation. The entire server had crashed because of this one mysterious guy. He had obliterated countless players in a flash, and everyone wanted to know his true identity since his face was hidden by a hood in the viral photo. Meanwhile, back in the game, Jiu happily follows the girl he just rescued. Nothing but their footsteps breaks the awkward silence. Irritated, Kion suddenly halts in her tracks, turns around, and demands to know why he is still stalking her. Jiu calmly suggests they team up, but she snaps back, asking when she ever agreed to that. She tells him to go find some other broke loser to play with, leaving Jiu totally confused. Pointing at his clothes, she yells that he is just wearing underwear under that cloak and carrying a starter stick. And trust me, you and I are going to love seeing her reaction when she finds out the truth. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where our overpowered main character secretly saves a girl with one swift strike. Since her eyes were closed, she has absolutely no idea he just rescued her. Realizing she thinks he is weak, Jiu grins and decides to hide his insane strength. He runs after Kion, begging her to carry him through the game like a total newbie. Confused, she listens as Jiu claims he is a clueless beginner and calls her master. Hearing that word instantly boosts Kion's ego, bringing a massive smile to her face. She remembers how her old party leader treated her like trash, so being called master gets her incredibly hyped. Meanwhile, Eurus is just confused by what his master is doing. Jiu whispers back that pretending to be weak is all part of his master plan. The dragon recalls their earlier conversation, while Kion clears her throat, trying to act like a serious expert. She claims she always helps beginners and invites him to join her party, proudly declaring that this expert will carry him through, but only this one time. Kion is a level 24 fighter who dumped all her stat points into raw strength, ignoring everything else. Right at the dungeon entrance, she charges headfirst at a roaring monster. She lands a heavy punch, sending a level 4 rabbit bear flying as it spits blood. Before another beast can ambush her from behind, Kion leaps into the air with impressive agility. With an aerial flip, she brings down a devastating kick. The shocked rabbit bear can only watch as her signature move, the fallen dragon's stomp, smashes it deep into the dirt. The remaining monsters quickly regroup and surround her. Standing her ground, Kion boldly taunts them, telling them to bring it on and face a true master all at once. Sitting nearby, Jiu watches the action, thinking she is actually a pretty solid fighter. Eurus agrees with his master's assessment. Now, pay attention here, because even low-level monsters can be dangerous in large groups. But Eurus tells him there is no need to worry, as she wears elite gear, with her weapon alone costing 10 million gold. Jiu yells in absolute shock at the massive price tag. Eurus explains that her entire set is top tier, totaling over 100 million gold, leaving Jiu wondering how a beginner got so rich. The dragon reveals she is simply a pay-to-win player. Jiu recalls Kion complaining earlier about players who had no eye for quality, bragging about how she spent a fortune on her gear. He doubts she actually spent that much, seeing no point in investing 100 million. Suddenly, Kion spins around and snaps at him, yelling that even if she is carrying him, he cannot just sit around. She orders him to attack with his basic stick. While Jiu stands there confused, she lectures him, saying he needs to fight to get stronger instead of being a lazy parasite. While she is busy scolding him, a monster sneaks up right behind her. She keeps lecturing him about having zero drive to grow, completely unaware of the threat looming over her. With a simple poke of his basic stick, Jiu completely vaporizes the beast into nothingness. Kion glances around, totally baffled by what just happened. She wonders why a random gust of wind just blew through a closed dungeon. Jiu panics, realizing he has no idea how to hold back his insane strength, when a message suddenly alerts Kion. An urgent message orders her to log off immediately because something starts in 10 minutes. With a deep sigh, she tells Jiu she is logging out for 30 minutes and orders him to keep grinding while she is gone. Jiu is left utterly baffled by her sudden exit. He can't help but wonder what kind of job she has in the real world to casually blow 100 million on a video game. Warriors has no idea either, guessing she might just be a spoiled rich kid. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a massive, ultra-luxurious high-rise building. Deep inside a fancy room, Kion lies in bed wearing her virtual reality headset. Logging off, she pulls off the gear with a heavy sigh, reflecting deeply on her encounter with Jiu. Okay, I know what you're thinking. She's totally smitten. But suddenly, the door slams open, and her furious producer bursts in, screaming at her. The angry manager screams that she must want to get fired for wasting time on a game. Kion snaps back, telling her to open her eyes since she was already taking it off. But she gets labeled a hopeless addict anyway. The furious manager orders her to sit down immediately since they have less than 10 minutes left. She rants about her playing with her glasses on again, reminding her that the heavy headset leaves highly visible red marks on her nose. Kion complains that she gets anxious without her glasses, arguing that any red marks can easily be covered up with thick makeup. The manager gives her a deadly glare, muttering about what a nightmare she is. She urges her to sit down, grumbling that if she weren't making so much money off her, she would have strangled her. Throwing cosmetics onto the table, the producer snatches her glasses off and rushes to prep her. Kion pulls out her hair tie, letting her long hair fall loose. On a music stage, the host hypes up the crowd for the grand finale of the music show, announcing that today's performer has held the #1 spot for 13 straight weeks. He introduces the ultimate idol and genius singer-songwriter of the generation, Han Sarang. Sarang begins to sing a beautiful melody about first love before warmly greeting her screaming fans. Han Sarang is a top-tier idol, but her secret hobby away from the cameras is hardcore online gaming. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, the rabbit bears prepare to charge Jiu. Jiu decides he should practice a bit before his master returns. When Eurus asks what he plans to train, Jiu explains that keeping his strength secret means learning how to hold back. Essentially, he is going to try attacking without completely vaporizing his targets. High above the stars, a divine entity smiles as he watches a massive planetary explosion, commenting that fighting without killing sounds like a ton of fun. He turns to a maternal figure with a massive sun behind her back, asking for her opinion. Back in reality, Han Sarang is a second-year high school student. Debuting at a very young age, she struggled through a rough, unpopular start before finally cementing her position as the absolute top singer-songwriter of the modern era. A journalist enthusiastically praises Sarang, amazed that she secured first place 14 consecutive times. He expresses his love for the heartbreaking lyrics of her debut song inspired by The Little Mermaid, asking how she writes such deeply emotional stories. Sarang explains she is a total homebody who loves reading poetry, collections, and sometimes even gets inspiration from old fairy tales. The interviewer notes that explains the track name, and Sarang giggles, adding that her manager told her to hide the fairy tale inspiration because it might seem too childish and embarrassing. The entire crowd is completely charmed by her innocent answer. While her producer watches from backstage, she grumbles about how this clever little schemer is effortlessly fooling the entire country with an absurd lie. Because the real, secret hobby she hides from the world is her pure addiction to gaming. The host then mentions her rising popularity as an actress, pointing out her famous role as a foul-mouthed high school student. Sarang giggles and claims she struggled with the part because she has never uttered a single curse word in her entire life. But inside the virtual world, she is a total menace, calling Jiu a useless idiot. She immediately rages at him for not greeting his master the second she logged back in. A baffled Jiu asks when exactly she became his master, and Sarang snaps that it starts right now. She asks if he wants to complain and lose his free carry, making Jiu quickly back down. Gaming is just her way to relieve real-world stress. Urus begs his master to ditch this rude brat, but Jiu insists on playing weak. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving right into some hilarious master-disciple training as she forces him to repeat after her, making Urus realize his plan worked. On their way to the dungeon, Sarang stops to ask if he has been practicing by hunting monsters. Jiu sighs, explaining that grinding takes extreme patience and his journey is still far from over. Urus shouts that hitting monsters without dealing real damage is useless, but our main character just tells him to shut up. Sarang giggles, calling him an eccentric newbie and admitting she is looking forward to this. Realizing she still does not know his name, she asks what this underpants-wearing guy is actually called. Jiu is shocked, thinking he already told her. He tries to speak, but she cuts him off, deciding to just call him Underpants. She claims it has a nice ring to it. Frustrated, the main character asks why she even bothered to ask. Meanwhile, some shady figures spy on them from afar, as a bearded man whispers that he has finally found her. When his subordinate asks for orders, the leader commands everyone to gather inside the dungeon to demand payback. Up ahead, a level 22 rabbit bear rises and starts heading straight toward the girl. Sarang commands Underpants to attack, and our main character obeys like a loyal puppy. Screaming, he plays dumb and approaches the beast looking like a total amateur. He slowly raises his staff, gently tapping a single hair on the beast. Instantly, the rabbit bear suffers a massive blow, its head crushed as it collapses to the ground in total confusion. But its health bar does not hit zero, leaving it with one sliver of life. Jiu is thrilled the monster survived, realizing his strike without killing strategy worked perfectly. Sarang cheers, amazed he beat it on his first try and got so strong. Suddenly, a deadly dagger comes flying straight at her. Now pay attention, because Sarang instantly senses danger, pulling Jiu out of harm's way and deflecting the weapon with a precise kick. The bearded leader catches it, sneering that her gear is doing all the hard work. Sarang demands to know who he is. The man, Master Kim, fakes being offended and asks if she already forgot his voice, revealing they are all members of the Hallison Guild. Hearing that name, Sarang repeats it with pure disgust. Master Kim chuckles, saying it has been a while, and demands to know what kind of scheme the two are plotting. He immediately orders his goons to attack. Sarang warns Jiu to step back because of the danger, taking a defensive stance as the assassins rush forward with weapons drawn. With lightning speed, she lands a brutal kick to an assassin's face, knocking him out instantly. Sarang then uses his falling body as a launch pad, flipping gracefully through the air. She calls out her skill, Fallen Dragon Stomp, and smashes the ground with insane power, sending the assassins flying. Their leader screams for everyone to attack together. Watching the chaos unfold, Jiu asks what is going on, but Urus has no clue. Our main character, though, realizes he can easily piece it together himself. He figures out that these Hallison Guild members have clashed with Sarang before and lost every single time. Clearly, their leader does not know when to quit and has returned once again looking for cheap revenge. Jiu points out that they are incredibly weak, a bunch of level 20 scrubs getting totally wrecked by her, and Urus agrees. Meanwhile, Kim grins, claiming everything is going to plan. Using Sarang's distraction, he signals another ally to strike. A mysterious figure suddenly teleports from her spot, reappearing right behind Sarang with sharp claws pointed at her back. Sarang turns around in shock and notices her opponent has no weapons, guessing she must be a fighter. Suddenly, the woman activates her steel skill. A blinding light flashes, briefly throwing Sarang off guard. She is horrified to find her combat gloves have vanished. The thief smirks, noting how incredible the weapon is. She mocks her for being a rich girl to own such rare gloves. Watching this, Ju asks what kind of skill that was, and Eurus explains it is a steel skill from the rogue class. He admits it is weird since that skill is not supposed to be so broken. Ju laughs it off, saying he has nothing to steal since he is only wearing underwear and a cloak. But then, a terrible thought hits him, his precious staff. With a look of absolute dread on his face, Yu jumps up and starts running away screaming. Let's pause here, because Kim truly believes this random kid is just a worthless rookie who is not even worth worrying about. But as Yu backs away in terror, the sneaky thief gets incredibly excited to strike. She tosses the stolen weapon to Kim, teasing that stealing from a beggar is actually way more fun. In a flash, she teleports right in front of Ju, playfully asking where he thinks he is going. Ju panics as she targets him, realizing he cannot hold back his strength anymore. He tightly grips his staff and swings, but to his absolute shock, nothing happens. Everyone is left completely stunned, including Eurus. As the smoke clears, Ju stands there empty-handed, his main weapon completely gone. She smugly declares his stick now belongs to her, making Ju break out in a cold sweat. She even threatens to steal his hood, leaving him in nothing but his underwear. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms over the thief. Confused, she looks up only to see the terrifying true form of Eurus. The ancient entity demands to know how a mere mortal dares to touch him. Terrified out of her mind, the girl collapses, dropping the weapon right at his feet. Ju stares at his stick and casually picks it back up. A system alert reveals that Eurus's ancient soul refuses to recognize the thief, confirming Ju as the weapon's true owner. Manifesting from the wood, Eurus angrily declares that no one but Hunjum is worthy of wielding his grand power. The arrogant thief clearly underestimated her target. Ju reaches out and pats the dragon's head, making the ancient beast blush with embarrassment. Shaking with fear, the thief stumbles backward, completely unable to process what just happened. She wonders if she just saw a ghost, but the terrifying aura felt way too real for that. Kim yells at her, asking if she forgot her job. The thief snaps back, claiming she is a professional who only cares about cash. Just then, Sarang rushes in with a furious battle cry and attempts to land a devastating kick on her, screaming to get her weapon back. The thief barely dodges, laughing that it was a surprisingly fierce attack, but she points away, saying her weapon is actually over there. Watching the chaos unfold, Kim clenches his fists with a smug grin on his face. Sarang curses them, swearing to end their lives, but she suddenly collapses into a deep sleep after Jiu gently taps her. He explains it is just his strike without killing skill. Baffled, the thief demands to know why he did that since they are on the same side. Jiu calmly replies that he was merely hiding his true strength. She starts to question him, but is instantly blown away by a massive wave of energy. In a split second, every single assassin is wiped out. Stunned, she asks if he did this. Jiu bonks her on the head with his stick, confirming that he did. Her health bar drops to a single sliver. Activating his strike without killing skill again, he notes that he has been through so much, making him mentally unstoppable. Honestly, you and I can understand his anger since her little stunt nearly gave him a heart attack over his stick. His power erupts, decimating the area. Later, Sarang wakes up in an open field, completely disoriented. As she sits up in confusion, Ju steps out from behind a tree and asks if she is finally awake. Let's dive into this wild story where a girl wakes up totally shocked, calling our protagonist Panty Boy while asking what happened to their attackers. Ju calmly explains they are safe near the dungeon. She demands to know why she suddenly passed out, but that is when Sarang notices the powerful fist weapons back in her hands. With her weapons back, Ju asks about the Halazan Guild, wanting to know who they are and what they want. The girl blushes, wondering why this guy is suddenly acting so nice, before jokingly asking if he wants to go to hell. But she just sighs with a smile, deciding to explain everything since he got dragged into her mess. She then asks him if he has ever heard of pay to win. Ju has no clue, so Urus explains is an online gaming term. Confused, the main character asks how a game non-player character even knows that, and Urus admits he looked it up on Wikipedia. He starts reading the literal definition, but Sarang cuts him off to make it simple. They are just wealthy players who dump billions into the game to get overpowered. When Ju asks if she is talking about the Halazan Guild, she nods. They are exactly those kinds of players. She explains that she got these fists by pure luck at an auction. Then the guild started hunting her down to steal them. But since they are just a bunch of old thugs with terrible skills, she beat them easily every single time. She wonders how he got them back, asking if he stole them. Jiu casually claims the enemies just left them behind and walked away, maybe they just forgot them. She is still suspicious, knowing they will definitely attack again because their crazy leader is completely obsessed. Jiu finds it all pretty weird and asks why they want her specific weapon so badly in the first place. Sarang thinks it is obvious, since those fists are worth 10 million gold. But our main character argues that is exactly why this whole thing makes no sense. These rich guys spend billions, yet they are obsessed with a 10 million gold weapon. There has to be a catch. Meanwhile, at the guild hideout, a wounded Kim collapses in front of his leader as blood splatters across the floor. He desperately begs for another chance, but the furious leader tells him to shut up, calling them all completely useless. Refusing to waste more time, the leader decides to deploy his elite squad, the 4 Heavenly Kings. Kim looks up to see 3 mysterious figures step forward to face their boss. The second king scoffs, saying it makes no sense for a low-tier guy with only 100 million gold to be in their division. The third king agrees, reminding everyone they wanted to kick Kim out, but their leader was just too soft-hearted to do it. The first Heavenly King stays dead silent. Kneeling beside Kim, the second king mocks him, saying his pathetic plan of hiring a mercenary is why he failed, but the silent first king steps in, telling them to leave the mission to him instead. Brushing back his hair, he notes that the silencing fist effect will trigger in 12 hours. Hearing this, the guild leader bursts into a manic, incredibly loud fit of laughter. He boasts about his absolute power, bragging about his massive 12 billion gold net worth. He orders his men to show their enemies true terror, declaring that the blood festival has officially begun. But out of nowhere, Jiu appears right in their base, casually scratching his nose while everyone stares in shock. He breaks the silence with a smirk, mocking them for laughing about a blood festival. He completely insults the legendary 4 Heavenly Kings. Annoyed, the king demands to know who he is. But Jiu just tells them to guess while picking his nose in pure disrespect. He silently notes that pretending to be a weakling is going to get really hard if they keep going after Sarang like this. Laughing out loud, he mocks their goofy titles once again and declares he is finishing this right now. Furious, the king calls him a lunatic and orders his goons to tear him apart. The thugs charge forward with lightning speed, preparing to unleash their strongest attacks. But Jiu just smiles. With a single swing of his wooden staff, he releases an explosive blast that completely obliterates them, defeated by a literal stick. Now, pay attention here. Because outside, a cheerful girl is quietly approaching the scene. Inside, the first Heavenly King lunges at Jiu, only to get slammed by the staff, spitting blood instantly. Then boom! A massive explosion tears the entire building completely in half. The approaching girl, the goddess of life, stops in surprise before a smile spreads across her face as she instantly realizes who caused this chaos. Meanwhile, the panicked guild leader screams for every remaining member to charge at once. Staring down the horde, Jiu just sighs and grips his staff. He casually tells them that if they actually want to kill him, they should have brought 3 million more men. Swinging his weapon, he delivers a brutal face strike that triggers an explosion blasting straight into the sky. With a smug grin, Jiu sweeps his stick to the side, wiping out the entire group instantly. The king watches the slaughter in absolute horror, frozen in place. Struggling to stand, Kim screams for his boss to run immediately before they all get wiped off the face of the earth. But the king knows Kim doesn't get it. Aside from his core elite squad, every single member of this guild is an ultra-rich, pay-to-win warrior. Even their weakest recruit spent 10 million gold. I know what you were thinking, how is some random guy with a wooden stick absolutely demolishing a whale guild like this? Sudden realization hits the king. They never stood a chance. This monster might actually be the legendary player from the rumors, the one who supposedly defeated everyone. Staring at Jiu in sheer terror, he suddenly remembers the infamous stick underwear guy. It takes him back to when he first started playing as a young kid. Back then, games were simple, and grinding was incredibly brutal with 0 quests or raids. But for 9-year-old Wang, it was pure joy, even when sneaking out of bed and getting scolded by his parents. He deeply cherished those memories of leveling up alongside his childhood friends. But as adulthood hit, he got swept up in responsibilities, with no time left to look back. Suddenly, he was in his 40s now, the highly successful CEO Wang. Sitting in his pristine office, a subordinate enters, calling him boss and delivering the vintage monitor he had desperately been searching for. Wang wanted to reward himself with a nostalgic gift from his childhood, especially since he had worked harder than anyone else. His assistant wonders why he needs this outdated setup for a game he could easily run on a modern computer. Wang replies that it is for the vibe, his heart racing like he traveled back in time. But he grits his teeth as a harsh reality sinks in. He was not the only one who had been deeply changed by the ravages of time. Jiu strikes down another elite guild member, sending him crashing into the dirt. As a massive shockwave rumbles through the battlefield, the panicked king stands completely frozen in place. Jiu warns them it is almost over, with only 2 targets remaining. The king stays silent as our hero steps closer, questioning why wealthy players even need to steal gear from others in the first place. It is time to teach this old man a lesson. The king vividly remembers sitting at his computer, typing away until his massive 12 billion gold payment cleared. Wang realizes the gaming world changed alongside him. He no longer needs to practice or struggle. With just a few clicks and massive spending, he can buy limitless power, while normal, free-to-play players are left to suffer under his boots. Pay to win had taken over everything. And trust me, you and I are about to watch it all crumble. Let's dive into a world of broken promises. He kept searching through endless games, but they were all trash. Finally, he logged into Chrono Life, desperately searching for the one thing he had lost. A sudden memory from childhood flashes by just as a wooden stick swings down, striking his head. Jiu unleashes his famous strike without killing skill. Wang coughs up blood, crashing to the dirt in total defeat. Kim desperately calls out to his boss, but Jiu coldly announces that the Halazen Guild is history. Telling them to stop bothering Captain Amori, he warns them they will never meet again before walking away. Wang struggles to stand, whispering in disbelief. Could it really be him? The legend who crushed the 5 major guilds and wiped out 3 million players in the World Guild Alliance. Jiu glances back, silent as a ghost. Wang sneers, letting out a bitter laugh while asking how much cash he wasted to buy that kind of insane power. But soon he will realize that all this effort was spent fighting for a prize that does not even exist. Watching from a safe distance, Kim can only stare at his fallen boss. Jiu scoffs, saying he has no clue what Wang is babbling about, though he did spend some cash. Wang expects a figure in the hundreds of billions of won, but Jiu reveals he only spent 55,000 won on a basic starter pack. Wang is completely stunned, totally speechless, as Jiu walks away. Then, a slow smile creeps onto his face, quietly whispering the number 55,001. It takes him back to his childhood days of playing Ragnarok. Suddenly, he bursts into a wild, hysterical fit of laughter, leaving Kim looking totally bewildered. Wang asks how many games they played after Ragnarok, and Kim answers it was around 8. Still laughing, the boss admits Chrono Life really is a divine masterpiece. Just then, the goddess of life appears. She greets the Halazen Guild, noting it is a beautiful night. Looking around, she comments that their base is in absolute ruins. Spinning around, she asks if the item is ready. Wang assures her that preparations are underway, but she coldly interrupts him, asking why he is living in the past. He declares that he is done, ending their partnership right here. The goddess of life pauses in surprise, but quickly flashes a sinister smile. Is that so? Pay attention here. With one swift slash of her staff, she cuts the air. Kim watches in absolute horror as Wang collapses, his body sliced clean in two. His subordinate screams out for his boss in sheer terror. Stepping forward calmly, the goddess mutters that she should have asked why, but her bad mood makes it irrelevant. She drives her staff straight into Kim's back, spraying blood all over her face. Screaming in agony, Kim tries to struggle, but he is instantly shut down. The goddess smiles while watching, recalling the young man's words. Meanwhile, his hair turns black and his gear reverts. Muttering a more as his kill count hits 99,999. The system declares the Halazen Guild annihilated, tallying up his experience points and bringing his total to an insane 999,000 kills. Jiu stares at the screen, utterly baffled, as the system announces he has reached the maximum level. He mutters, "What is this?" while Eurus asks what happened. Jiu snaps, asking if he heard that nonsense. Opening his status window, he sees his class is still novice, but he is level 999 with 5,000 free points. He and Eurus just stare, completely clueless. How is this even possible? After all, in a massive game like Chrono Life, dominating every leaderboard and rating chart on Earth, hitting the absolute max level was deemed impossible. Even the legendary pro gamer Faker stated in an interview that reaching this height was currently impossible. Despite millions grinding day and night, no player had ever reached level 999, the ultimate master level. Faker estimated that even if the world's absolute top rankers hunted monsters 24 hours a day, achieving this feat would still take several decades of non-stop grinding. While Jiu stands there completely dazed by his absurd stats, Eurus is throwing a wild celebration for the world's very first level master. Eurus beams with pride for his boss, but Jiu remembers being only level 7. Honestly, this is just the logical result of him slaying 800,000 players on day 1. Not to mention the endless monsters and dungeons he swept through, plus all the experience from Chrono Life's ultimate boss, Eurus, and a high-level dungeon army. The final boost came from slaughtering 3 million members of the World Guild Alliance, along with the literal destruction of the planet. And just like that, the world's first max-level master is born, Radiant light erupts beneath his feet as the system teleports him to a transcendental space reserved only for max-level players. Meanwhile, in another corner of the city, Sarang lies flat on her back, staring blankly at the sky. Grumbling about how bored and annoyed she is, she stands up. She wonders where that pants-wearing idiot went since he told her to wait, but the sun has already fully set. Recalling his questions about the Halasan Guild, she remembers she was supposed to fill him in. Sighing deeply, she flops back down, yelling out, "Whatever." Let's see what happens next as we cut to Jiu, standing on a floating rock in space inside a bizarre temple, looking up at the sky in total confusion. He sighs, wondering why he keeps getting dragged around like this, just like when he met God and Dakpai. Suddenly, a booming voice welcomes the human child, praising him as extraordinary. The voice shakes the temple. The colossal being introduces himself as the guide of transcendence, the god of classes, welcoming him warmly. He commends Jiu for completing this brutal journey, declaring that reaching the master level while remaining a basic novice deserves the ultimate respect. Eurus is baffled, asking if Jiu just forgot to advance his class. Jiu denies it, noting he originally wanted to be a prosecutor. Suddenly, a secret class transition triggers. Blinding light wraps around his body as glowing spheres materialize in the air. One orb, shaped like a sword, flies forward and strikes him at high speed. The sword's soul merges with his body. Immediately, other weapon orbs materialize. The shield, bow, staff, gauntlets, and spear all sink into him one after the other. With every weapon soul locked inside his body, pure energy surges. The system rings, announcing that his class advancement to Master Class Novice is complete. As a unique perk, all spent stat points are returned and tripled. His status window resets to a base of 5, granting him 15,000 unallocated points. Eurus is in pure shock, screaming at the 14,985 bonus points. Is this really the power of a secret class? Jiu asks if this shocks him more than the secret class itself. Eurus yells back that regular players get 5 points per level, but he just got 15,000. Even if other players hit max level, your stats are already 3 times higher than theirs. This is insane. It's the greatest achievement in gaming history. Ignoring the dragon, a chilling grin spreads across Jiu's face as he dumps every single point into one stat. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to watch the craziest, most reckless stat allocation ever, and the dragon Eurus is absolutely losing his mind. Waste 1 point and you are a loser, the dragon panics. His face turns pale as he screams, why put everything into a single stat, and why that one of all things? Jiu finishes up and calmly says he does not need any other stats for now. Eurus complains that he ruined everything like a total loser. Meanwhile, at Chronolife headquarters, an employee rushes into the president's office warning of a massive crisis. The boss, Dakbei, asks what is wrong, and the staff member says he needs to see this crazy user for himself. In the main control room, Dakbei stares at the monitor on his employee's command. The president is shocked, realizing the stick kid finally reached the maximum level. But his level is not the issue. It is what he is doing with his stats. When Dakbei asks which stat the kid picked, the staff points to the screen, leaving the boss stunned. Suddenly, Dakbei bursts into wild laughter. This kid truly loves the game and is playing it to the absolute fullest in his own way. The employee warns this is no joke. The character is completely useless. If the player realizes his build is absolute trash, there is no telling how angry he will get. But Dakbei tells him to chill out. He has said it before, the company cannot interfere with a player's choices. The employee begs to take action, but the president is already walking away. Walking away, Dakbei marvels that the kid dumped every single point into one stat and even unlocked the Master of Novice's title. They call it a useless, trash build. But in virtual reality history, the most ridiculous and yet most overpowered character of all time has just been born. Back inside the game, Jiu finishes his stats with a smug smile. Suddenly, the god of classes manifests, declaring this is the final step of the transcendental path. He is offered a massive choice, a free transcendental weapon of his choosing. Jiu is absolutely thrilled, thinking there is no way he is passing up a free legendary item. He looks at the weapons, unsure which one to pick because they all look incredible. But here is where it gets crazy. Pay attention. Jiu holds out his hand and commands, "Give me all of them." The divine being is stunned, warning the mortal that excessive greed only invites unnecessary wrath. He coldly tells the boy to think again and choose wisely. Jiu cuts him off, asking if he is getting all the weapons now, or if he needs to beat up a god first. Everyone watching is left totally speechless. In the control room, Dakbei drops his cigar in sheer disbelief, realizing this kid is a total lunatic. The god of classes stays silent. but a system alert warns that the deity is absolutely furious. The deity's expression turns cold. Their relationship becomes instantly hostile as the god of classes prepares to strike him down. Jiu grips his staff, joking that the god is begging for a beating. They clash, and a massive shield flies straight at him. Jiu tries to block, but the force of the blow slams him violently into the dirt. Yura screams in terror. The god of classes sighs, lamenting that he never expected to slay a newly crowned transcendent with his own hands. He calls it a pity, but suddenly, a massive energy blast from Jiu's staff strikes him, melting half his face. Standing up, Jiu calmly remarks that actually hurt, asking if he is because he is a god. His health bar barely drops since his constitution is at 15,000 points, boosting his maximum health, rapid recovery, and total status immunity. Eurus watches in pure shock, still thinking it was crazy to stack one stat. He yells that Jiu made a huge mistake and created a completely garbage build. When Jiu asks why, Eurus explains that all gear in Chronolife has strict strength requirements, regardless of class, meaning he cannot wear anything. He will never equip anything other than that basic wooden stick. Jiu replies that the twig is all he needs, right as a mysterious system alert pops up. A hidden skill is unlocked. And yeah, I know what you were thinking. Is he actually invincible? His new healing factor converts all incoming damage into instant recovery, filling his health. Jiu taunts him while Eurus stares in shock. The disfigured god groans in agony, roaring in fury at the insignificant mortal before firing devastating laser beams from his eyes. Jiu takes the blast directly without even trying to dodge, crashing to the ground. Eurus rushes over screaming his name, but Jiu just bursts into chaotic laughter. He praises Chronolife as his chest fully regenerates in seconds. Eurus finds this absolutely disgusting. The god roars for the worm to perish, unleashing rapid attacks, but Jiu just absorbs them all. His health drops for a split second, only to fully heal instantly. The furious deity continues to strike non-stop in a completely useless cycle, but Jiu just stands there laughing, his health bar bouncing up and down. He decides it is time to wrap things up. After all, he has already benefited so much from this battle. It is time for the god to surrender his weapons and vanish. The deity warns the mortal child that his infinite greed will one day consume him completely. When that day arrives, he will face doom. But Jiu ignores the warning, unleashing a massive upward slash that cuts the god of classes clean in half. A system alert confirms the deity is dead. Reality begins to shatter into a million pieces. The game notifies him that the transcendent zone is collapsing, forcing his return to the normal world. The celestial dimension shrinks and shuts down entirely. Back in the starter zone of Chronolife, a beam of light hits the grassy hill, dropping Jiu safely onto the grass. Dozens of supreme transcendent weapons rain down from the sky, and against all odds, Jiu is now the rightful owner of every single one. The weapons glow, vanishing into a private pocket dimension, ready to answer his call anytime. Jiu smiles, loving the upgrade, but back in town, Sarang is absolutely fuming with rage. How dare he make her wait? She promises to kill him no matter his excuse. Just then, she hears a rustle behind her, and Jiu casually salutes her, saying he is back. His face is instantly met with a brutal fist. She kicks him, screaming that she promised to wait only a little bit, but now it is already pitch black outside. Jiu apologizes, explaining that a few unexpected god-slaying events delayed him. But hey, he is back now. Sarang grinds her teeth, yelling that she is logging out immediately. When he asks where she is going, she repeats she is logging off. Jiu just gives a casual wave. Sarang fumes but warns him to be online tomorrow night at 7 p.m. sharp when she gets off work. She threatens to end his life for real if he dares to show up late again. As she vanishes, Jiu sighs at how bossy she is, while Urus asks about their next move. Jiu stands up, saying he is also logging off since it is past midnight in the real world. The system prompts a logout confirmation, and Jiu quickly accepts. Leaving the virtual reality parlor, the clerk bids him a polite farewell. Jiu lets out a massive yawn, thinking that today was an absolute blast and Chronolife is genuinely the best game ever. But seriously, how much can we sell those transcendent weapons for? Trust me, you and I know those legendary first-of-their-kind drops are going to make him filthy rich. Alright, you and I are about to watch a broke gamer turn his fortunes around. But first, he is questioning if his loot is even sellable while staring longingly at a cheap rice soup restaurant. But looking at his completely flat wallet, he has to pass. He keeps walking with a heavy heart, totally sick and tired of being dirt poor. With the game's subscription fees rising, he'll need to grind even more hours at his part-time job. But as he wanders the streets, he suddenly freezes. Hold on, he mutters, remembering that Eurus valued the basic gear at 10 million won, and the full set at a staggering 100 million. A wild idea sparks in his head. What if he could actually cash out these legendary game items for real-world money? With that genius realization, Ju bolts right back to the login room. Every top player in Chronolife knew of a legendary forbidden zone, the final resting place of all mortals. It was the ultimate, highest-level hunting zone in the game's entire history, one that remained completely undefeated and shrouded in mystery. And right there in the deadly valley of the undead, Urus's private domain, Jiu arrives. Urus, looking exceptionally sharp in a butler's suit, politely welcomes Jiu to his home. But our main character just walks right past him with a smug grin, announcing he's moving in. Urus happily obliges, telling his boss to enjoy his stay to the absolute fullest. Jiu admits he was so obsessed with revenge earlier, he completely forgot to loot his massive drops. But today, he's taking everything. Urus, the dragon, secretly pities his own monstrous minions. Suddenly, an overwhelming surge of raw energy crashes down, shaking the entire cavern. Now pay attention, because this is where his miserable life changes forever. Out of the smoke, Urus's army surrounds him, but Jiu just grins. He's about to make an insane amount of cash and become filthy rich in a flash. With a single swing of his basic stick, the ultimate endgame dungeon is completely vaporized. Turbot of Despair, Lapis of the Abyss, and Trish of the Dawn, the three grand commanders of Urus, are instantly wiped off the map. In just two simple strikes, every single monster is annihilated, leaving behind a mountain of legendary loot. A literal waterfall of priceless gear rains down. Urus marvels at the instant sweep, noting they made an absolute fortune. But Jiu just smirks, asking if he really thinks it's over, because this is just the warm-up. A confused Urus watches as Jiu points toward the rising smoke, where the monsters are already respawning. Standard monsters in this zone respawn after a set time, making it an endless loop. However, unique bosses like the two-headed dragon Urus won't reappear. Since it's his first time selling gear, Jiu decides he's going to clear this place at least 100 times. Another massive explosion rocks the valley. You know, there was once a famous lecture at Harvard. The professor asked the crowd if they recognized Bill Gates, the wealthiest man alive and the mastermind behind Microsoft. He explained that if Bill Gates spotted a $100 bill on the street, he wouldn't even stop to pick it up. Why? Because it's literally a waste of his time. Spending 3 seconds bending down is an economic loss. In those 3 seconds, he makes over $150 per second, losing money by stopping. But here in the Valley of Ghosts, the rules are totally different. With items stacking up like massive, glowing mountains, farming 100 waves of monsters takes roughly 1 hour, including the skill cooldowns. In total, the net worth of all the loot piled on the ground reaches a jaw-dropping 15 billion won. The lecture states Bill Gates makes about 500 million won hourly. In one single hour, a broke part-timer from Korea had completely crushed the hourly wage of the richest man on Earth. The very next day in Seoul, a polite salesperson at a high-end Gucci store bows deeply to Jiu. He walks out rocking a designer outfit worth over 3 million won. I know what you're thinking, luxury cars and designer gear. Oh, absolutely. Pedestrians can't help but stare in pure shock as he rolls by in a ride most of them have only ever seen in magazines. Jiu whips off his 2 million won sunglasses, hyping himself up to show off his new wealth. He stomps on the gas pedal, only to smash directly into his street lamp seconds later. Panicking hard, he screams about his wrecked 400 million won Lamborghini. Yet, just moments later, he pulls up in a brand new model, casually brushing it off as pocket change. Meanwhile, at Chronolife headquarters, Chairman Duckby lights up a premium cigar, clutching his pounding head in absolute agony. He orders his assistant to finish the report, and the terrified employee basically tells him the company is completely bankrupt and they need to run. The chairman demands a way to block the kid's gold transactions, but it's officially impossible. The chairman keeps throwing a fit until his phone suddenly buzzes. He picks up, thoroughly miserable. Jiu is on the other line, cheerfully asking how the old man is holding up and bragging about his massive shopping spree. He taunts the chairman even further, mockingly asking if he needs a financial handout or a charitable donation from a newly rich god. Dakai loses his mind, screaming and blaming Jiu for everything. Jiu just acts completely innocent, then happily hangs up. He ponders what luxury to buy next since he's already bought out half the city. He feels like he's still missing that one ultimate flex to define his new life. Suddenly, a brilliant idea hits him, and his eyes pop. He jumps behind the wheel, cursing himself for forgetting the absolute ultimate status symbol. Cut to a super expensive skyscraper, where Jiu cackles like a classic cartoon supervillain. He boasts that his brand new penthouse is the absolute peak of luxury, welcoming everyone to his new palace. Finally, he had reached the ultimate high point of his life. But then, he remembers the classic moving in tradition. Carrying a plate of traditional rice cakes, he rings his neighbor's doorbell. A lovely female voice from inside calls out, asking who it is. Jiu introduces himself as the friendly new neighbor, offering some delicious rice cakes as a greeting gift. The girl on the other side sounds startled and asks him to wait just a second. The door swings open, and Jiu begins his polite introduction, but completely freezes mid-sentence. It turns out, his luxury apartment wasn't going to be the biggest shock of his day. Sarang is standing right there at the door. They lock eyes, immediately recognizing each other from the game. This, right here, was the real plot twist. Meanwhile, back in Chronolife, a terrifying figure approaches Eurus's army. With a single casual wave of his hand, he cold-bloodedly vaporizes the entire monstrous force, painting the ground in crimson. The three elite commanders of the army rush forward, branding him a foolish human. But the dark figure just sneers, mocking the idiots for not even recognizing their own creator. He summons three massive spikes from his back, releasing a tidal wave of dark power. In a flash, Orus's strongest warriors are skewered and erased, as the monster greedily drains their energy like a parasite. The mysterious entity stands still, declaring that everyone must die. Now, those three elite bosses are permanently dead. A system alert pops up, confirming he has completely absorbed their levels and attributes. The data of Eurus's commanders has been entirely deleted. The beast glares coldly, grinding its teeth as it remembers when Eurus lost his first head to Jiu. Back when Eurus was in his soul form, he wondered where his missing half had gone. Now, this monster reveals his true identity. He is the severed head of Eurus, born solely to destroy the human world. His name is Urakan. Back in reality, the nation's top pop idol, Han Sarang, known in-game as Amore, appears. Jiu is completely stunned meeting his guild captain in real life, while Sarang happily thanks him for the food. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, their story is just getting started. Let's dive into this wild story. Jiu stares at her in shock, finally recognizing the famous idol Han Sarang. As she heads inside, her sister asks about the package. Sarang casually mentions it is just a rice cake, gifted by their new neighbor. She looks back, wondering why he feels so familiar. Brushing it off, she tells her sister to eat up, getting a quick thank you. Neither recognize the other because their in-game avatars look nothing like real life. Her sister tells her to quickly change out of her school uniform, but Sarang whines, complaining she has barely been home for 30 minutes. Her sister says they can wait, but she wants to finish filming quickly so she can finally log back into the game. Remembering her promise to meet up with him, the idol rushes to get dressed. Her sister watches with a knowing smile, realizes Sarang must have met someone really special online. She wonders what kind of handsome guy managed to steal her sister's heart. Meanwhile, inside the virtual world, Jiu is wondering where all the monsters went. He asks if the minions ran away, but Eurus claims that is totally impossible. Monsters are bound to their designated zones. They physically cannot just run away or escape. It is like they vanished into thin air. Jiu shrugs it off, thinking he can always find another hunting ground to grind and make some quick cash. Eurus reminds him of his upcoming meeting, and Jiu agrees it is almost time to head out. Since the hunt failed, leaving early is best. He grumbles about the long walk, while Iris senses an eerie vibe behind them. Something is wrong. A terrifyingly familiar energy is in the air. Deep in the mountains, Elrose, a massive level 190 boss serpent, is getting consumed by Urakan. Its stats and levels drain away. The dragon drools with greed, but this is not nearly enough power to destroy his ultimate target. Now pay attention here, because this is where a wild twist happens. The winged goddess of life descends, praising her hungry child for growing so fast. But she has no idea what is coming. Without warning, Urakan impales her. The goddess gasps in shock. The ravenous dragon snarls that she looks absolutely delicious and starts devouring her entire being. She begs him to stop, but she is completely eaten, leaving nothing behind. Suddenly, a system alert pops up. The absorption failed. The goddess manifests again, playfully scolding him for giving his mother such a scare. She even teases him, asking if he is just going through a rebellious phase. Urakan wonders if it was an illusion, positive he had just gulped her down. Dismissing his confusion, she tells him it does not matter. Realizing she is not regular prey, he demands to know her true identity. Smiling, the goddess points to a bustling city on the horizon, telling him there is a massive buffet waiting. She urges him to go feed his endless hunger. Urakan drools in anticipation. The goddess watches with a creepy grin as he descends into madness. Spreading his wings, he vows to fulfill his dark purpose and wipe out all of humanity. He takes off into the sky, landing heavily on a skyscraper. Below, clueless players stare up in confusion, wondering what kind of monster just spawned. Suddenly, a sharp spike impales a player through the chest, absorbing him right before his girlfriend's eyes. Terrified, she screams out in absolute horror. Dozens of players are skewered at once, absorbed en masse. The drooling beast grins, stealing every single stat and level. The players are nothing but cattle to him. The starter town, a hub bustling with low-level newbies and elite high-level players alike, is completely wiped off the map. Back at the game's headquarters, an employee bursts in to report a massive disaster. Customer support is completely flooded with complaints, angry phone calls, and chaotic YouTube streams. The help desk is paralyzed. While the dev team scrambles to assess the damage, players are fuming. Getting your character deleted by a monster is way too far. I know what you were thinking, this is absolute chaos. Diobai just sarcastically asks if Uraken showed up, while the staff wonders how this happened. He orders his staff to keep eyes on only 2 targets, starting with Uraken. Meanwhile, the monster stands still amidst the burning ruins. The goddess praises him, amazed that he wiped out the entire player base, turning the city into a desolate graveyard in seconds. Still drooling, Uraken demands to know where his next big meal is hiding. The goddess claims she does not know yet, but then her expression suddenly shifts into a very creepy smile. She points him toward a different region, promising a delicious target to consume. Meanwhile, deep in the woods at 7:34 p.m., Sarang is absolutely fuming, ready to murder Ju if he shows up late. She is positive she warned that idiot. Scanning the area, she grumbles about him taking forever, totally oblivious to the giant dragon towering right behind her. She is just a level 24 fighter facing a level 999 beast. Elsewhere, a top ranker named Hawkeye grumbles. He was the legendary supreme commander of the massive 5-guild alliance. With his insane charisma, he was featured in massive interviews and had no equal. But after the catastrophic Judgment Day, his legendary guild was completely dissolved. Saddled with all the blame, the former commander fell into complete ruin. He keeps muttering his old titles, desperately clinging to the days when the entire server knelt before him. He refuses to go down easily, but a massive explosion cuts his thoughts short. Panicked players scream as a terrifying beast spawns right in the central plaza. This town was supposed to be a safe zone. Instead, Hawkeye watches in horror as players are literally deleted from the game. Hiding nearby, he watches the carnage, realizing this goes way beyond normal game boundaries. The goddess spots him, but she just keeps her chilling smile. The brutal destruction continues until the dragon and goddess take to the sky, flying away. Hawkeye watches them go, staring at his open system screen with a dark plan. Suddenly, he bursts into a manic laugh. Meanwhile, the monster towering over Sarang terrifies her. She realizes this is no player, wondering why a boss is in the starter zone. The goddess greets her as Captain Love. Confused and annoyed, Sarang asks how she knows that nickname, since only Underpants calls her that. She grumbles about wanting to punch him, asking why his avatar looks so terrifying. The goddess asks if they are close, and Sarang admits she is just messing around with him, despite not liking him much. She claims he simply will not leave her alone. The goddess's face turns dark before she quickly forces a polite smile. Already annoyed about Ju talking to Captain Love during the guild confrontation, the goddess loses her patience. She coldly calls Sarang incredibly irritating, leaving the young girl completely baffled. Before she can move, spikes impale her, launching her into the air as her health hits 0. The goddess mutters coldly, telling her to go to hell because she was overrated. Sarang drops, her body vanishing and leaving only her scarf behind. Uraken absorbs her power, calling it a tasty meal, while the goddess proudly agrees. She notes Sarang carried a piece of a god. The dragon is confused, but she just ignores him. Honestly, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving right into the chaos as she steps on the scarf, casually asking about food, only for Ju to coldly ask where those freaks are heading. They both turn around to find a completely furious Ju staring them down. The goddess just smiles, trying to play it cool, but Ju instantly shuts her down. He viciously warns her to get her filthy foot off that sacred scarf, unless she wants to lose her life all over again. Stunned, the goddess quickly backs away, stammering a quick apology. Ju just glares at her before turning his rage toward Uraken, calling him a tentacle freak. He warns that the beatdown starts with him and raises his staff high. He unleashes a mind-blowing shockwave of pure energy. The dragon barely has time to react before everything in his path is completely vaporized, the blast piercing the atmosphere and shooting straight into deep space. As the smoke clears, Ju stands tall. He mutters that he will let that woman slide just this once, telling the cockroach to run along. Luna scoffed, asking how a gorgeous goddess could ever be called a cockroach, mockingly telling him to stop acting tough since he cannot kill her anyway. She tells him to focus on the fight instead of her, since his true enemy is still standing. Jiu looks up and sees Urakan charging straight at him with terrifying speed. Calling him her son, Luna watches as the dragon readies its massive claws, striking Jiu with an explosive blast of power. Watching this, Eurus panics and desperately screams for Hung. But Jiu is totally fine, admitting that actually surprised him. He wonders how Urakan survived his blast, instantly healing his own wounds while reassuring a worried Uruz that he is okay. Urakan laughs it off, claiming a slow attack like that is easy to dodge since it never even touched him. Jiu just glares back with freezing, cold eyes. Dodged it. Did you? Guess I will just have to swing harder. Uruz is stunned, wondering if Jiu is seriously claiming that insane attack was not even his full power. Jiu confirms it with a smirk, calling everything so far just basic attacks. Now pay attention, because the absolute wave of energy he unleashes next completely paralyzes Urakan with pure terror. He activates his novice skill, Swordsman Spirit Master. Having restricted himself to simple strikes until now, he looks at the son of a cockroach and warns him his first actual skill is coming. If this lands, it is going to hurt, so he better start running. Jiu grips his wooden staff tightly and commands the system to activate his skill. Continuous cut. The devastating slash tears off the planet, flying straight towards Saturn. As the attack travels, memories of Sarang flood Jiu's mind, fueling his absolute rage over everything he has lost. The strike completely obliterates Urakan's physical form before continuing its endless path, piercing straight through Saturn. Saturn tries to absorb the shockwave, but suddenly detonates in a massive planetary explosion. And that was just continuous cut, his most basic attack. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a massive live broadcast is starting up. Hawkeye pops onto the screen, introducing himself as the Supreme Commander of the World Union. The chat immediately explodes with insults, calling him a massive loser. Yet paradoxically, the viewer count skyrockets as people join just to hate. This is done via Chronolife Streamer mode, a feature allowing live broadcasts. Though anyone could stream, the feature was disabled during Doomsday to protect the operation. Because of that, the true identity of the player they were hunting remained a total mystery to the public. Hawkeye gets straight to the point, one lone player standing against 3 million opponents. Logically, that should be impossible. He mentions checking the official developer boards, which deny any hacks or glitches, but he flat-out refuses to believe their lies. He furiously accuses the game company of treating players like absolute garbage, demanding a full investigation because the forums are flooded with horror stories of a monster deleting accounts. He urges everyone who lost their characters to join his stream as he prepares to hunt down this beast. He promises to expose everything today, shedding light on the dark secrets of this corrupt game company. But then he suddenly pauses, shamelessly begging his viewers to smash that subscribe button. Meanwhile, back at the battlefield, the dust settles to reveal a completely unharmed Jiu, who sighs in genuine surprise that Urakan actually survived that strike. Jiu is baffled by how the monster evaded a guaranteed death blow. Though he managed to survive, the beast is left horribly mangled and bloody, yet he still stands to formally introduce himself. His name is Urakan, a creature born only to wipe out humanity, revealing himself as the ultimate boss, the lost head of Uruz. Uruz confirms his suspicions, realizing that familiar energy he felt earlier was real. He warns his brother Hung to stay on guard, as this beast is likely behind the disappearances in the Valley of Ghosts. Even Captain Love's tragic death was probably his fault. While Jiu processes this, Urakan watches coldly from afar, repeating his promise of death before lunging forward with a ferocious claw swipe. Jiu looks grim, remembering that Love's entire account was permanently deleted by this monster. As Urakan strikes, Jiu casually stops the blow by tapping the beast's head with his staff, activating a non-lethal strike. The resulting impact triggers a massive explosion across the field. Hawkeye dashes toward the battlefield, yelling at his viewers to keep watching as he gets a closer angle. Meanwhile, Jiu spins his staff, slamming it into Urakan's stomach for another explosive, non-lethal blast. Coughing up blood, the monster groans in agony but still struggles forward. Jiu simply prepares his next move, unleashing a multi-directional burst strike that repeatedly batters the beast with consecutive energy blasts. Jiu relentlessly hammers him without taking a single breath, triggering one final, colossal explosion that leaves the monster spitting blood. From the shadows of a tree, Hawkeye watches in sheer disbelief. Viewers are losing their minds wondering who this high-level player is, and you might recognize him too. As the smoke clears, Hawkeye stands frozen as Jiu's true identity is finally laid bare. It is the legendary figure from the poster. The chat goes wild because that is the man who triggered Doomsday. Hawkeye remembers his own humiliating defeat, boiling with rage as he blames everything on him. He cannot believe he just stumbled upon his worst enemy here. Gritting his teeth, he raises his bow and aims straight at Jiu. The arrow streaks through the air, but misses Jiu completely, instead clipping and shattering a piece of Uraken's horn. The shocked viewers are left wondering what just happened. Suddenly, someone in the chat screams that their deleted character has returned. Soon, others flood the stream with the same news, leaving a stunned Hawkeye in total denial. The stolen accounts are actually returning to their owners, though with lower levels. Covered in deep wounds, Uraken's level suddenly plummets to 723, leaving Jiu deeply confused. The beast had been dodging effortlessly before, but now he is visibly slowing down. Eurus explains that the player data he absorbed is finally flowing back to its rightful owners. Over at company headquarters, a team leader finally pieces it together. He explains that player accounts were never actually deleted, but were actually stored inside Uraken's horns. A surprised developer asks how he did not know this, but the employee explains he is just the design team leader. Back in the arena, a wide grin spreads across Jiu's face. So if I beat this monster up, will Captain Love return too? Hearing that name startles him, and Uraken grinds his teeth, charging forward while screaming that Jiu is just food. Stick around to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the action where Jiu unleashes a relentless, non-lethal barrage, absolutely battering the beast. The system announces another stolen soul is returned, dropping Uraken's level down to 389. Meanwhile, over on Hawkeye's live stream, the viewer count is absolutely skyrocketing. Chat is losing their minds, calling him the player killer who caused doomsday. But hey, he's saving their characters now. Hawkeye, completely dumbfounded by the sight, finally snaps his jaw shut. Lowering his bow, Hawkeye totally gives up on fighting our hero. Cut to Sarang in her penthouse, already dressed for her performance. She's glued to the stream on her phone. Viewers are chanting Jiu's name in pure hype. Sarang watches in utter disbelief, suddenly remembering the old days when Jiu used to beg her to carry him in the game. She can't believe how much he's changed. Back in the arena, as the dust finally clears, we see Uraken kneeling on the ground, his body completely broken from those non-lethal strikes. His stats have plummeted to a mere level 180. Jiu closes the distance instantly. Eurus notes that the boss's energy is completely drained, forcing him back into his pathetic original form. I see that. Jiu replies, debating how to finish him off. Uraken, paralyzed and drooling, tries to mumble his own name. But out of nowhere, he fires a sneaky final spike that pierces our hero. It's a clean strike. Everyone watching the stream is left totally speechless. Eurus' jaw drops in horror, while Uraken roars in absolute triumph. Uraken screams that he's the ultimate destroyer of humanity, leeching Jiu's levels away. Terrified, Eurus screams out for his young master, as our protagonist is literally ripped in half right before his eyes. The beast keeps sucking away his levels. What's left of Jiu crashes to the dirt like a broken twig, and Uraken's horn begins regenerating. The monster bursts into maniacal laughter, howling about how delicious his first real meal is. His level skyrockets to 999. But pay attention here, he claims his hunger is bottomless, boasting he is Uraken the gluttonous. Eurus rushes over, collapsing beside his friend's remains in tears, crying out for his brother. But suddenly, Jiu's hidden healing factor skill triggers, and his broken body starts putting itself back together. Uraken suddenly feels a massive, agonizing swelling in his stomach. His flesh begins to tear apart, forming a terrifying face that emerges from his own belly, glaring back at him with icy eyes. The face breaks into a chilling grin, leaving Uraken absolutely paralyzed with fear. The monster screams in pure agony, while our hero just laughs. Even Dakbei drops his cigar in shock. Everyone is wondering what that grotesque monstrosity is. High above, Luna watches the chaos unfold in complete awe. Jiu keeps laughing like a maniac, joking that Uraken looks like a pathetic little worm. Eurus asks if it's really him, and our hero calmly confirms it. Gnashing his teeth in rage, Uraken screams that Jiu is the child destined to destroy humanity, roaring his own name once more. But his screaming is cut short. Jiu begins absorbing the monster's belly, using its mass to reconstruct his own flesh. His body rapidly reshapes itself, leaving Eurus totally stunned. Uraken can only wail in agony as he's pulled inside. Finally, Jiu steps onto the dirt, completely whole again. Let's pause for a second because this healing factor is broken and instantly recovers all damage. Once activated, every single absorbed cell is forced back to its original owner. Jiu originally thought he was done for since his cells had fused with Uraken, turning him into just another organ in the monster's body. But get this, the entire process completely flips. Uraken gets dragged into the absorption loop, and Jiu literally spits him out with a burp. Because of this, he unlocks a broken hidden skill, Gluttony, letting him steal levels and stats by devouring targets. Luna asks if the show is over, admitting it wasn't what she expected but was highly entertaining anyway. Jiu points out she seems awfully cheerful considering he just ended her son's life. She laughs it off, saying the kid was evil and the sun thing was just a metaphor. Oh, and for his information, she's only 21 years old, the exact same age as him. Stunned, Jiu asks how she even knows that. Dodging the question, Luna summons her scepter with a flourish. Flash of a smile, and she opens a dimensional portal, teasingly saying, "Who knows?" Massive, terrifying claws tear through the portal, revealing the hand of some monstrous entity. Jiu is left utterly speechless. Luna steps onto the giant hand, waving goodbye and calling him Mr. Loser one last time as she departs. Meanwhile, back at headquarters, Dakbei's cigar drops right out of his mouth. He barks orders to cover up the chaos with an in-game reward event and tells them to keep tracking his previous targets. Chuckling at how wild the Uraken fight was, he issues a new command. Starting now, they are to keep their eyes on only two players, the former host of Uraken and Luna. Meanwhile, back at the starting village, players raise their hands, cheering for Jiu as their ultimate savior. People are literally blowing trumpets, calling for everyone in the server to hail their new savior. Jiu just facepalms, totally overwhelmed by the sudden drama. He groans, wondering who leaked his secret power and ruined his plans of staying low-key. Hawkeye's stream peaks at a massive 235,000 viewers, and clips are instantly viral on YouTube. But during the celebration, an angry elf screams at everyone to stop, claiming that Jerk could never be a hero. He rants that Jiu is a mass murderer who wiped out 3 million players in no time, and calling a wanted criminal a hero is absolute madness. Hawkeye shuts him down, pointing out that Peking is basically just deleting characters anyway, so he needs to pipe down. Thanks to this single broadcast, Hawkeye becomes an overnight sensation, making him the real winner here. Since our hero is a solo player, someone shouts that he should definitely join the prestigious Justice Guild. Suddenly, everyone starts begging him to join their guilds, promising top-tier perks and royal treatment. Panicked by the overwhelming attention, Jiu breaks into a run to escape the crazy crowd. Eurus teases him, saying his big bro is finally famous and should have flexed his powers way sooner. Annoyed, Jiu tells him to zip it, only to smash his head straight into a massive golden statue. Stumbling back, he looks up to find a giant, life-size golden replica of himself. Both he and Uruz wear faces of pure horror. Jiu desperately prays that it isn't actually him, but Uruz sadly confirms that yes, big brother, it is. Wong creeps up behind him, asking if he loves the tribute. He's standing there with his entire guild, and hilariously, they're all wearing nothing but underwear and capes. He boasts that spending a massive fortune on this monument was totally worth it. He loved Jiu's show, proving that Jiu really is the absolute legend he suspected. Wong asks if he's the player who triggered the end of the world, explaining he was so hyped by that event he built this monument. Jiu denies everything, totally baffled, and demands to know why they are all in their undergarments. The guild master explains they spent literally everything they owned to build it, costing over 20 billion gold. Suddenly, the villagers spot him, screaming that they found the hero. Jiu takes off running again, yelling at the old guy to stay away. Meanwhile, back in her penthouse, Sarang sits quietly on her bed, head down, processing everything that just went down. The truth is finally hitting her the way monsters vanish whenever she opened her eyes, the giant rabbit beast crushed in a single punch, and even her stolen gauntlets from the Hallison Guild. He took down the whole guild just to return her gear. And that's where we leave it. You and I have to wonder, why did he pretend to be so weak? Let's dive into a dark memory where a trembling little girl watches her teddy bear get ripped apart, utterly terrified of her own father. Crying on her bed, she has a complete breakdown over his lies while trying to take off her glasses, only to put them back on in fear. Meanwhile, back in the game city, Jiu looks totally exhausted. He sighs that the crowd has finally chilled out, thinking this is just the price of fame. But Uruz quickly warns him that everyone is still staring directly at them. Jiu wonders if they forgot something super important, but his brain completely draws a blank. Just as he struggles to remember, Han Sarang suddenly appears right in front of him. He calls out her name, relieved she's back, and realizes she was the missing piece all along. Without her around, everything just felt completely off. The crowd whispers in confusion, wondering who this mysterious girl is. Nobody has ever seen her before, yet she somehow feels strangely familiar. Right then, Jiu remembers her red scarf. Wrapping it gently around her neck, he proudly claims he got it after slaying the mighty Ukraine. But he quickly panics and lies, saying he just found it lying around on the dirt road. But that cheap lie only pisses her off even more. Trembling with pure rage, she snaps, telling him to stop lying to her face. Confused, Jiu asks what she means. He insists he doesn't even know how to lie. Gritting her teeth in sheer anxiety, she suddenly drops a bombshell, asking if he was the delivery guy who brought rice cakes to her house. Jiu is completely baffled at first. But then, a sudden flash of memory hits him the exact moment he delivered those rice cakes to her. He freezes in absolute shock. Now, pay attention here, this is where everything changes as he realizes Captain Love is actually Hans Sering, confirming her real identity outside this virtual world. In reality, Hans Sarang was just a normal girl who loved to sing. But her older sister screams, asking if she's crazy for exposing her true identity to the entire world. She was already trending #1 everywhere, with reporters begging for interviews. Worse, her sister scolds her for customizing her character to look exactly like her real-world self. She really should have thought of that earlier. Although character customization is allowed, virtual reality laws strictly force all players to use their actual, real-world facial scans to log in. Her sister yells that she should have at least changed her hairstyle, calling it a miracle her identity stayed hidden this long. But Hans Sering just shrugs it off. She snaps back, saying she never cared about hiding. She questions if playing a game is a crime, insisting she is just there to have fun without worrying about other people. Her sister warns that her actual personality could leak, reminding her she is supposed to be playing a sweet role for the nation. This only makes Han Sarang angrier. She screams that she never wanted to fake anything, blaming her sister for forcing her into this lie. She always hated deceiving the fans who genuinely supported her from the start. Slamming her door shut on her complaining sister, she grabs her virtual reality headset. Sliding it on, the system instantly activates and scans her eyes to log her in. Slowly, her shaking stops as she finds her peace. The system chimes that authentication is complete, immediately diving back into her virtual life. Back in elementary school, she used to hum a sweet nursery rhyme about a little rabbit waking up at dawn to drink from a clear mountain spring instead of washing its face. Having a natural gift for music, she made her massive debut at just 5 years old. People hailed her as a genius prodigy, a heavenly singer, and even a musical reincarnation. Her debut was legendary. But tragedy was waiting in the shadows. This beautiful flower, meant to bloom under the spotlight, was brutally crushed by greedy corporate adults. You and I both know it always comes down to money, a tragic reality that plagues the entire entertainment industry. It was a nightmare that destroyed a young child's childhood, treating her like some cheap, tragic character. Just like that, they cruelly worked her to the bone. Endless music shows, stressful live interviews, and non-stop commercials consumed her entire life. She only endured this brutal schedule, which would break most grown adults, because her greedy parents kept constantly pushing her, demanding she do even better every single day. Even through her tears and paralyzing fear, she forced a painful smile for the cameras. But her tiny body quickly hit its absolute limit. During a massive year-end broadcast pulling record-breaking ratings, she was forced onto the stage for one final, spectacular performance. Crushed by the pressure at the end of the song, she suddenly collapsed, throwing up on the stage floor while the horrified crowd watched in shock. Coughing violently, she cried out for her parents, but they ignored her. Instead, they just covered their angry faces in embarrassment. Seeing their disgust, the poor girl panicked even more. That moment left a deep trauma she could never erase. Now, sitting quietly in a beautiful green field, Hans Sarang stares at the sky, reflecting on her painful past. Thinking back to when Jiu wrapped that warm scarf around her neck, she instinctively clutches it. Suddenly, Jiu calls out, saying he finally found her, making her jump in surprise. He explains a gut feeling guided him here, asking why she ran off and admitting he was worried sick, but Hans Sarang coldly snaps, telling him to get lost. Jiu is totally clueless about her anger. As he asks what's wrong, Oris notes she is furious. He has no idea she's mad because he lied about his insane hidden powers. Unsure of what to do, Oris tells him to apologize since lying was a massive mistake. Awkwardly clearing his throat, the hero calls her name and finally says sorry. He explains he never wanted to trick her and wanted to tell her the truth, but the right moment never came. Clutching her scarf, she stands up and angrily demands if he honestly believes a lazy apology fixes everything after he lied so easily. Jiu opens his mouth to ask what she means, but his confusion instantly turns to sheer panic as a massive griffin swoops down and snatches her up. She's in serious danger. Jiu screams her name in desperation as the beast takes flight. Up on the griffin's back, a mysterious rider wonders if he grabbed her too hard, hoping she won't faint. Urus is completely shocked, recognizing the rider instantly. Jiu screams, demanding the bastard get back down here right now. The rider sarcastically apologizes, explaining that some important people want to meet Hans Sarang, so he has to borrow her. Our hero curses and draws his staff, while Iris frantically warns him not to attack because this guy is monstrously strong. Completely ignoring the warning, Jiu swings his staff upward, launching a devastating energy blast straight at the flying kidnapper. But the kidnapper just sighs and activates his skill, 8 sights and 8 mirrors. With his 5th sight reflection, he redirects the hero's devastating attack right back at him. Before Jiu can even recover from his stance, his own blast comes roaring back, catching him completely off guard. The direct hit triggers a massive explosion, sending a shockwave tearing through the ground and into outer space. Everything on Jiu's right side is completely vaporized, including his own arm. Yura screams in absolute terror, begging to know if his brother is okay. With his arm blasted off, our hero's insane healing factor kicks in, regrowing it instantly. But as we leave things here, he finally realizes this enemy is far from human. Alright, you and I are diving right into the story of Habaek, a mysterious being just like Urus. Our main character, Jiu, mocks him as a weakling until Habaek's mirror suddenly shatters. Caught off guard, the man soon grins, admitting Jiu is genuinely amazing. After all, he is the first person to break through his defenses since that legendary figure. But he warns that a mere human cannot hold a god's fragment. Meanwhile, in a secret tower out in the western forest, Han Sarang wakes up in a panic. She backs away, demanding to know where she is and why she was brought here. Habaek tells her to relax, promising he means no harm. He explains there are simply some people who desperately want to meet with Miss Han Sarang. She wonders who it could be, but then 2 figures step forward. Han Sarang freezes in absolute terror, instantly recognizing them. It was none other than her own mother and father. Flashbacks hit her of that terrible day on stage, where her parents just hid their faces. After that nightmare, Han Sarang decided to retire from her singing career forever. But those greedy parents refused to let her quit. Her mother slapped her right across the face, denying her retirement and brutally dragging her back onto that stage. Her mother claimed they did it all out of love, trapping the poor girl in that life for years. But once an incident involving her father cut off their cash flow, they crossed every line, leaving Sarang deeply traumatized. Those monsters did not deserve to be called parents. They literally sold their only daughter. It was an absolute miracle that Han Sarang somehow managed to escape their clutches. Running for her life, the only safe haven she could find was a local police station. That was how Han Sarang was finally freed from her living hell. The court issued a restraining order. Her parents tried to fight it, but they failed. Protected by the law, she was finally, truly free from their torment. Yet, the damage was already done. Han Sarang was completely shattered inside, carrying an intense trauma caused by lies. She locked herself away in a pitch-black room, with online games as her sole escape. Sitting in the dark ruined her eyesight, forcing her to wear glasses. To this day, the sheer memory of those dark times makes her incredibly anxious if she ever takes them off. Now, pay attention here because we will cover her return to the outside world later. Back in the present, she is trembling with anxiety, confronting her toxic parents about the restraining order. They smugly reveal they joined the game after reading an article about her playing Chrono Life. Finding her alone would have been tough, but luckily, they had some outside help. Habaek bids them goodbye, stating he will step outside so they can catch up in peace before instantly vanishing into thin air. Her mother fake cries about how much she has grown. She says they had only seen her on television and laments how cruel the law is for tearing loving parents away from their daughter. Han Sarang starts breaking down, grinding her teeth in sheer frustration. She demands to know what they want, threatening to log out immediately if they are just wasting her time. Her mother desperately shouts that they are incredibly sorry. She claims they have wanted to apologize for ages and admits they were far too harsh back then. She begs Sarang for forgiveness, claiming they just want to be a happy family again like the old days. Meanwhile, as Habaek walks outside the tower, his griffin suddenly stands up. Jiu is waiting right behind him. Habaek notes this hideout was supposed to be a secret, assuming Horus must have guided him here. He tries to explain, but Jiu snaps at him to shut up, declaring he will only find peace through brutal revenge. Sighing, Habaek snaps his fingers, admitting they have no choice. His griffin lets out a deafening roar and charges at them, making Jiu wonder if this overgrown bird wants to die first. Jiu flinches when a second griffin suddenly appears. He rubs his eyes in pure disbelief as the birds begin to multiply, hilariously wondering if this is some kind of glitchy copy-paste. Habaek activates his 4th vision, photocopy, unleashing tens of thousands of screeching griffins. Disturbed by this visual madness, Jiu swings his staff, triggering a massive explosion that completely obliterates the entire incoming flock. I know what you're thinking, how can more hatch from the frozen debris? As Jiu panics, Eurus reveals this is photocopy, the fourth ability of Habayek's broken mirror. He warns Jiu to be extremely careful, explaining that the mirror's ultimate form is called Eight Visions. Jiu admits he has never heard of such a thing. Eurus explains there are 8 mirrors, each possessing a unique effect. For instance, the mirror he used earlier was reflection, capable of bouncing back every physical and magical attack thrown at it. Jiu complains that it is way too overpowered, demanding a game balance update. Eurus just stares at him, finding it hilarious that the most broken player is complaining about balance. Honestly, it did not matter since the developers never cared about balance. Habayek is an actual raid boss, not a player. Meanwhile, the silent boss just stares them down. Jiu mocks the game for letting a boss wander around pretending to be human. He wonders what kind of crazy developer designed this, but a griffin suddenly blindsides him from behind. Caught off guard, Jiu spits blood as the remaining griffins immediately rain down a barrage of fireballs at him. Even after taking those massive explosions, Jiu stands tall, joking that they actually scared him for a second. Raising his staff, he unleashes his signature continuous cut, slicing the monsters into dust. Habayek sighs, telling him is completely pointless. No matter how many Jiu defeats, photocopy can spawn infinite copies. To prove his point, a fresh wave of growling griffins instantly replaces the dead ones. Jiu sighs at the cheap trick, realizing he has to smash that damn mirror to win this. Habayek, however, just keeps wearing that sinister, arrogant smile. Jiu triggers continuous cut again, wiping out the entire swarm. But the moment they respawn, he immediately unleashes another relentless wave of slashes. After repeating this a dozen times, the very earth begins to shake under the pressure of his strikes. Finally, the mirror cracks, leaving Habayek stunned at the sheer absurdity of this guy's power. Pointing his staff at the boss, Jiu asks if that precious mirror is finally breaking. He mocks him, saying since Habayek is just like Urus, he must be a total pushover. Habayek snaps that he is not weak, but rather Jiu is a complete anomaly. Jiu coldly tells him to wipe that smug smile off his face because it reminds him of a cockroach. Threatening to send him to hell, Jiu demands to know why he kidnapped Captain Amora and what this piece of a god crap is all about. Habayek hesitates, prompting Jiu to warn him to freeze if he wants to live. Observing his cracked mirror, Habayek notes it can still manage one final trick. Suddenly, a strange presence begins to approach from right behind them. Expecting another ugly griffin, Jiu is absolutely shocked by what appears. A flawless duplicate of himself stands there, with his weapon and gear perfectly copied down to his underwear. Jiu stares in absolute disbelief, realizing he has to fight himself. The mirror clone raises his staff, instantly unleashing a reverse continuous cut, sending a lethal barrage of slashes straight at him. Staring death in the face, Jiu simply accepts the incoming blow. His health points instantly plummet to 0, causing a massive, blinding explosion to rip through the entire battlefield. Watching from afar, Habayek admits he should have copied Jiu from the very start instead of the griffins. Angry, Eurus steps forward, demanding to know what his ultimate goal is. And that's where we leave it for today, trust me. You're going to want to see how this crazy battle ends next time as Habayek mocks Eurus for looking cuter than before. Alright, let's jump right into this crazy showdown. Eurus confronts Habayek, telling him to stop dodging the question and demanding to know if that mysterious person was the one who sent him. Habayek just laughs and asks to pinch Urus's cheeks, earning a sharp insult from the dragon. But suddenly, chunks of flesh on the ground begin writhing wildly, morphing into a terrifying, sinister shape. Habayek gasps in shock at the grotesque sight, while Eurus fears the nightmare is repeating. Instantly, Jiu's insane healing factor activates, completely restoring his health to full. He steps forward, totally healed but twitching like a horror movie monster. Then the bizarre clone calls out to Habayek, completely catching him off guard as it manifests right behind him. Jiu turns, calling the silent clone a fake. Eurus chimed in, mocking that this copy looked even cheaper than the original, prompting Jiu to yell at him to shut his mouth. The clone grips his staff, unleashing a brutal downward slash. A massive wave of energy flies toward our hero at lightning speed. Jiu sighs, shifts back to his true form, and unleashes a vicious upward counterstrike. Their powers collide, creating an earth-shattering shockwave. Everyone watching is paralyzed with fear, as the entire world seems to split in half. Through the thick smoke, both fighters charge, screaming in rage. Their weapons clash in a blinding blur of speed, as their insane powers collide over and over again. Violent shockwaves ripple through the battlefield. The main character channels every ounce of his power into his strikes, and his clone does the exact same thing. They unleash their ultimate slash skills at the exact same moment. The collision obliterates the western forest, their glowing blue and red powers swallowing the landscape. Watch closely, now things are about to escalate. Ju unleashes absolute devastating power, and his clone matches him blow for blow. With a wild roar, their final strikes collide, triggering another massive explosion. The sheer impact shocks both fighters. As a massive chunk of the earth is blasted away, Habak and Urus are forced to shield their eyes. The water god assumes that because they both landed clean headshots, they must have destroyed each other. Urus can only scream out for his master in panic. As the dust settles, we see both of them reduced to squirming, shapeless blobs, forcing their healing factors to work overtime to reconstruct their bodies. Habak notes that while they are completely out of their minds, this is their only way to survive. Reforming their physical bodies, they sprint right back into the fray. Another colossal red and blue explosion consumes the entire mountain peak, while the terrified spectators watch from afar. Urus demands to know why Habak is interfering with his master, and what he actually did with Captain Love. Habak just smiles, mocking Urus for being completely clueless. He warns him to pay attention, boasting that not even their mysterious mastermind can afford to mess with the single strongest entity in all of Chronolife. He targets Urus's pride, asking a burning question. Why on earth would a legendary dragon who never cared about anything in this world choose to follow a weak, ordinary human? Urus asks if he still hasn't figured it out. Habak dismisses this, saying the dragon has it all wrong, and assures him he has absolutely zero interest in playing with their so-called hero. His real target was the peace of God. Urus assumes he means Captain Love, but Habak bursts out laughing, claiming a mere human could never be worth that much. He reveals Captain Love was just carrying the legendary relic. Meanwhile, inside a hidden tower, a mother tearfully apologizes to her daughter, begging for her forgiveness until she suddenly notices the girl's hands are completely empty. The mother goes quiet before grabbing her daughter's hands in a panic, demanding to know where she put the gauntlets of silence. Back on the battlefield, Urus is shocked that a relic of God only costs 10 million. Habak counters that the cost is irrelevant, and soon, everyday players will have access to them. You see, Chronolife items are split into several distinct tiers. First, there are the basic normal items, followed by rare, then unique, and finally the legendary Newman rank. Urus heard rumors of an even higher transcendent rank, but he has never seen one in person, remembering that they are all locked away in Ju's inventory. Habak explains that power level aside, these pieces of God are incredibly unique, though the transcendent rank remains a massive exception, especially to the deities. Watching the chaos from afar, Luna scoffs at Habak for easily blabbing all their big secrets, commenting that a guy who can't keep his mouth shut is completely unattractive. Beside her, another god casually munches on a sandwich, pointing out that everyone already knows her secret since she has been hunting those same relics since joining the guild. He was talking about those gauntlets of silence. Luna realizes she was caught, but the god questions if she actually believed Uriken could absorb the holy artifact's power. You're probably thinking the same thing as me here. The goddess of life acts calm, but this battle is completely out of hand. Look at that, a massive explosion erupts as they clash again. Ju is starting to slow down from sheer fatigue, but his clone doesn't feel a thing. Spotting an opening, the clone delivers a lightning-fast slash, cutting Ju across the chest and sending him flying. Urus screams out in pure terror. Habak notes that while their stats are identical, there is one critical, fatal difference here, the difference between a real player and a bot. The copy is immune to fatigue and will never make a mistake, completely shifting the tide of battle. Urus rushes to help, while Habak just sighs at his desperate attempt. Ju's body melts into a puddle on the ground before snapping back together, revealing a massive chest wound. Urus arrives just as Ju's healing factor kicks in, instantly mending the damage and clearing the blood. Suddenly, he laughs, shouting that this is incredibly fun. Urus and Habak are stunned. Ju explains that life had gotten boring when he could end every opponent with just one hit. He wants to keep playing rather than instantly destroying this fake. Urus warns him that he is in deep trouble, but as the clone charges, Ju just laughs at the concept of danger. Standing completely still, he casually mentions he has two simple ways to crush this fake. This shocking claim leaves everyone, from Urus to the watching gods, totally stunned. Their weapons clash in another devastating explosion that tears up the terrain. Urus shields his face from the blinding dust, while the gods withstand the heavy shockwave. Suddenly, the smoke clears. Habak is genuinely curious to see which method Ju will choose to end this. But Luna, taking another bite of her sandwich, dismisses it all as a desperate bluff. Habak is on a completely different level compared to ordinary game bosses, and his special ability is totally broken. He is not someone you fight alone, and she doubts Ju can win. But then, Ju drops a bomb. His first method is to simply blow up the entire planet. The gods freeze in pure terror. He explains that destroying the world would end the game, sending Captain Love back to the starting village and erasing this copy. But honestly, he is not in the mood for that and wants to try something new. The gods breathe a heavy sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Dakbei is biting his nails in sheer anxiety, practically begging him to just reveal that second method already. Back in the tower, the mother gently presses her daughter about the gauntlets, promising she won't get angry if she just tells the truth. Her greedy father chips in, demanding she pay them back for raising her by handing over that expensive item, but she just tells them she lost it. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Let's dive right into this heavy scene where a father corners Han Sering, accusing her of hiding things before brutally striking her across the face. He screams that she is an ungrateful brat, complaining about the trouble she caused by running away. Calling her a total waste of money, he demands to know where his cash is, reminding her who raised her. Back on the battlefield, a strange magic circle forms right beneath Ju. Eurus looks on in shock, wondering if this rookie master is about to unleash some crazy new skill. Even Habeak is caught off guard, though the dragon recognizes the violet spirit. Ju activates the power he took from Uriken, sending a massive tentacle of gluttony bursting right out of his mouth. While Eurus worries about escaping, the tentacle impales the clone's back and starts draining it. But Habeak just laughs, asking if Ju really thought his clones could not copy that exact gluttony skill. Right on cue, another tentacle erupts from the clone's mouth, impaling Ju in the chest. Now, both monsters are trying to devour each other. Habeak gloats that the mirror copy duplicates everything. It has the gluttony skill, the healing factor, and the power reserve. It looks like Ju's entire strategy has completely backfired. Now, watch closely, because Ju is about to turn the tables. He commands his system to equip a reserve battery, and before Habeak can react, a stinger pierces his chest. Ju explains his real plan was always to target the main body. The tentacle begins draining Habeak, who realizes far too late that attacking the clone was just a clever feint from the start. As the main body starts to break down, the clone falters and vanishes. Ju smiles, confirming his theory that injuring the real host would make the duplicate completely disappear. It was a fun fight, but it is time to say goodbye. However, Habeak desperately fights back, managing to sever the tentacle and escape. Ju is genuinely surprised by this sudden resistance. As the mirror bleeds alongside him, Habeak grips the artifact tightly. He screams in anger at being cornered and realizes he has no choice but to sacrifice his legendary item, the Gauntlets of Silence. The god is shocked, wondering if Habeak is clueless that Uraken already absorbed that artifact. Luna just shakes her head, admitting she kept him in the dark about it. Habeak retreats into the air, declaring he is backing off for now. Ju pulls back his tentacle, taunting him as a sore loser who is just making excuses to run away. Habeak actually agrees, saying a loser should run with his tail between his legs. He tosses his mirror to Ju, who instantly gains the artifact containing one of the 8 visions. While Ju and Eurus are stunned by this unexpected gift, Habeak tells him to take it as a reward for beating the raid, even if it is not an official drop. He calls it a small tribute for sparing his life. Ju shrugs, asking why he should accept this when he could just kill him and loot much better gear off his corpse. Habeak points out that the mirror only works while he is alive, making a deal to keep himself breathing. With a final wave, he departs, officially transferring the ownership of the magic mirror over to Ju. Ju just shrugs, not really caring about the loot. After all, his main target from the beginning was Captain Love, not this guy with the mirror. Now let's jump back to that hidden tower, where things get even harder to watch. Sereng's father is still screaming, calling her ungrateful and blaming her for all of their family struggles. He yells at her to obey her parents, calling her a rebel and demanding if she forgot who gave her life. The poor girl collapses to the ground, keeping her head down. The old man sighs in exhaustion, but a greedy smile creeps onto his face. He realizes they do not even need the gauntlets anymore, since they can just extort cash from Ju from now on. Sereng feels like she is at her absolute limit. Her mother steps up, mockingly reminding her that court restraining orders do not exist in this game, meaning there is nowhere to run. As Sereng clenches her fists in despair, her mother smiles, saying they will be together forever. In her mind, the girl desperately prays for anyone to rescue her from this living hell. Are you guys idiots? Ju's voice suddenly cuts through the air, telling them she can literally just log out. Everyone spins around as the furious mother demands to know who dares interrupt them. Underpants guy, Sereng realizes in shock. The father recognizes him too, screaming that he is the useless punk from the video who was touching Sereng, but he gets smacked before finishing his sentence. Ju uses a non-lethal skill to strike him down, coldly joking that even if he is rude, he is usually polite to his elders. But selfish old trash is always an exception. Watching this, Eurus quietly remembers that Ju was just as rude to the Hollisan Guild elders. The father struggles up, screaming they are her parents. Bullshit, Ju snaps. What kind of parents beat their kid and steal her money? The mother cuts in, telling him to ask Sarang herself. Ju just sighs in pure annoyance. He complains about people bringing real-world baggage into games, saying it ruins the whole point. The mother scoffs, saying that is exactly why gamers these days are so messed up. Ju turns to Captain Love, asking why she is just taking a beating like a victim. He tells her to stop holding back, pointing out she has the highest level in the room. Sarang is stunned. Ju continues, saying it is pathetic to be so realistic in a game, adding that he can tell exactly how toxic her family is just by looking at them. He asks why she even plays if she's just going to be a loser who runs away like in real life. Sarang grinds her teeth, crying out, "What do you know, you brat?" She screams through her tears that he knows nothing of what she has endured. Suddenly, her mother lunges forward to slap her again, claiming they are the ones who have been suffering. She yells that they are her parents no matter what. Sarang grinds her teeth, while Ju watches in disbelief, calling the mother absolutely heartless for trying to hit her own child again. He says goodbye, reminding her that Captain Love is incredibly strong. Even unarmed, her punches pack a serious punch. Empowered, Sarang charges at her terrified mother, who shrinks back in fear. As awful childhood memories flash before her eyes, Sarang throws a powerful, tear-filled punch. It connects cleanly with her mother's face, sending her flying backward from the sheer force of the impact. Sometime later, Sarang does a televised interview about her life as a top idol who plays the game, cheerfully admitting she has been loving Chrono Life for a long time. The interviewer notes how realistic the game is, asking if she feels bad about killing simple monsters. Sarang laughs, saying she loves beating them up because it is a great stress reliever. The idol has completely conquered her past trauma and now lives happily. Her constant anxiety is gone, and she does not even need to wear her glasses anymore. When the host points out that is the total opposite of her usual self, Sarang smiles, saying her gaming persona might be her true self, making the blushing crowd go wild. She adds that it does not matter anyway, because looking for reality in a video game completely ruins the fun. Meanwhile, back at home, Ju is watching her live broadcast on television. Ju sighs, realizing her brutally honest answer has earned her a massive wave of new supporters, including himself. On the screen, the media has painted her recovery story as absolutely perfect. The public believes she quit gaming to live a happy life in the real world. But once she logs back into Chrono Life, she immediately starts screaming that Ju is running late again. He defends himself, saying he logged on right after her show. And that's where we leave it, trust me, these two are far from finished. Let's jump in. She snapped back that the interview was pre-recorded. The truth was, after beating her trauma, this idol never stopped playing. In fact, she was logging in even more now, cutting down her real-life work schedule. Sarang rushed him, complaining they were out of time. A totally confused Ju asked where they were heading. "Are you seriously obsessing over details?" She nagged. "It looks like you forgot and still haven't accepted my apology." "Whatever. It is fine," Ju sighed, following her as a smug, victorious smile spread across her face. "I'll forgive you since you are carrying me today." Our main character was confused, but then he suddenly remembered that time back in the past when he had begged her for a carry. Back then, she claimed to be a clueless newbie. Now, she walked right up to him with a smirk. "Please carry me, Master Jiu." By the way, Chrono Life was the absolute #1 virtual reality game. With so many players, countless guilds existed. But at the very top stood 5 powerhouse factions known as the 5 Great Guilds. Each had its own unique, terrifying power. But one specific guild decided to walk a completely different path from the rest. They had a massive spy network that ruled the entire continent, completely outclassing the Global Information Guild. And get this, every single member was a rogue class. This was the legendary Robin Hood Guild. But shocking everyone, they were completely wiped out in a single night. The guild leader stared at the ruins, then leaped high into the night sky. He flipped gracefully, bouncing off the mountain to jump again. Suddenly, a mysterious man materialized right behind him. Well, is there still a little rat breathing? Now watch closely because this gets crazy. Sensing the immediate threat, the leader unleashed a lightning-fast slash that split the man in two, but the body dissolved just an illusion. The stranger's voice echoed, mocking him for being slightly better than the rest, before his presence vanished completely. The guild leader stood there confused, because the impact of that strike felt totally wrong. Boom. A heavy blow hit him from behind. The attacker mocked that he was still only average. Coughing up blood, the guild leader gasped, demanding to know who they were and why they did this. The man chuckled as a mask appeared on his face, showing he was actually from the same guild. He smirked and gave his ultimate reason it was just for fun. Cut to another day near a quiet forest. A carriage pulled by a massive cat rolled down the road. The driver yelled that they would reach the Rocky Mountain dungeon soon. Inside, Jiu munched on some meat, noting the place was actually pretty close. Sarang pointed out that the map already showed that, estimating they would arrive in about 5 minutes. Their ride was none other than the Meow Meow carriage, a famous service in this game. They literally tamed massive Molino cats and trained them to pull people around. Shockingly, the founder was just a regular tamer class player, and this booming business made him way more cash than most real-world business owners. Sarang cheered that they had arrived. Jiu looked up at the Rocky Mountain dungeon, which towered over 1,000 meters high. It was packed with mid-level 30 monsters, making it a popular grinding spot for newer players. Or so he heard, considering level 7 was his personal peak. Anyway, after that long setup, the main reason they made this trip was to carry Hansarang. She had been way more serious about it than he expected, which is how he got dragged into this. He wondered how many levels she needed, figuring it might be faster to just head straight to the Uru's nest and max her out. But he stopped when he noticed her hands and remembered something. He announced he had a gift for her, catching her off guard. Then, Jiu pulled an item from his inventory, the powerful transcendental gauntlets. Jiu explained he forgot them last time, and since he already had a pair, he wanted her to have these. Hansarang blushed deeply at the sweet gesture and suddenly burst into tears. Sobbing, she thanked him, saying it had been ages since she got a real present. Jiu was skeptical. She was super famous, so surely she got tons of gifts, but she insisted it was totally different. You and I can see it, right? Hugging the gauntlets close, Sarang realized he really was completely different from how he used to be. She thanked him again, promising to put them to good use. But then she remembered something and asked for his character name. Jiu asked if he had not mentioned it, but she admitted she completely forgot after they partied up. He opened his mouth to reply, but the sudden rattling of the carriage cut him off. The giant cat screeched to a halt, making the driver wonder what went wrong. The sudden stop sent everything in the back flying. The coachman checked on them, muttering that the cat just randomly got spooked. In the chaos, Sarang ended up falling right on top of Jiu. He groaned, asking what happened and if Captain Love was all right. She nodded, but Jiu suddenly froze. She was holding his actual underwear. From a distance, Oris watched the whole awkward scene with absolute disgust. The terrified cat kept meowing while the driver desperately tried to calm it down. Standing right in front of them was a heavily injured Hong, begging them to help her. They all stared at her in utter confusion. Han explained that the monster who did this was a man she had never heard of. His level and even his class were a complete mystery. She only managed to grab his character name, but she knew one thing for certain: this guy was definitely no ordinary player. Apparently, he could duplicate items, creating an exact copy of her mask right before her eyes. His name was Passive Boy, a name Sarang had never heard in her life. For some weird reason, Eurus pictured a literal carrot. Jiu raised his hand to ask a question, and after Han nodded, he simply asked who she actually was. Sarang quickly jumped in, explaining she was the famous leader of the Robin Hood Guild. Eurus chimed in too, vividly remembering the day she crushed 3 million players. Jiu shrugged, coldly stating that everyone has problems, and her guild getting wiped out by some psycho was not a good reason to help. Hong slowly removed her mask, bowing as she begged him for help. Even though she had not even introduced herself properly, Jiu noted she was persistent, but repeated that he had absolutely no reason to get involved. Hong, who was actually a stunningly beautiful girl, introduced herself again. Instantly, Jiu flipped. Who cares about reasons? Helping beautiful ladies in need is basically my specialty and hobby. Sarang stared, thinking he was an absolute scumbag. Hong thanked him, promising he would not regret this. But then, she revealed this entire mess actually involved him too, shocking Jiu. Meanwhile, at the Chronolife headquarters, an employee called out that it was time to wrap up, telling the support team they should all head home. One guy complained about having to work overtime, but the team leader quickly questioned him since they had zero authorization for that. Seo stepped in, telling everyone to head home while he handled the overtime alone. A coworker joked that he probably had a fight with his wife, and they all laughed, said goodbye, and left. Smiling alone in the empty office, he muttered about what a bunch of idiots they were. He grumbled about lazy younger workers who only knew how to slack off. And trust me, you and I are definitely going to want to see what this guy does next. All right, you and I are about to watch how one bad move completely ruins them. Destined for poverty, they are gone, and as he puts on his virtual reality gear, it is time to make some serious cash. The system logs him in, connecting directly to Chronolife. An exclusive game master connection sparks to life, exposing him as the elusive Passive Boy. Gliding in-game, he soars high above the massive mountain peaks. Declaring that the hour has arrived, he summons his weapon, a crimson sword of devastation. This is the Executioner Blade, a level 99 unique masterpiece of raw destruction. Sun grins, ready to start working overtime. Every single stat of his is completely maxed out. He has reached the elusive Master tier, a peak even the pro gamers cannot touch. Only at this absolute zenith can someone wield legendary transcendental rank gear. When this rumor leaked, it set the entire player community on fire. Yet, not a single soul had actually witnessed one in person. Sarang stands paralyzed, staring in absolute disbelief at a mythical weapon straight out of local folklore, the Transcendental Gauntlets. Eyeing underpants, she stammers that while she originally just wanted a tiny peek, now she desperately needs to try them on. Still doubting her own eyes, she asks if this relic is truly a transcendental class. Ju shrugs, telling her to take it, since he owns a bunch of them anyway. The girl gulps in absolute shock. She slides them on, and the divine gauntlets instantly soulbind to her with a deafening blast that shakes the map. System alerts pop up, confirming she is now the true owner, leaving Sarang completely dazed by the sudden turn. The golden armor flashes with blinding energy, but suddenly scales down, shifting into what looks like incredibly basic leather gloves. Confused, Sarang demands to know why this epic weapon suddenly looks like a piece of absolute garbage. The system reveals the harsh truth. The Transcendental Gauntlets have been sealed because she lacks the stats. What on earth is this? She wonders. Wielding endgame gear at a low tier is apparently a terrible idea. A mid-level unique would have been safer. Testing her hand, she gently taps a nearby boulder. Now watch closely. The rock instantly pulverizes, ripping open the entire valley in a colossal shockwave. She freezes. Did I just do that? Even sealed, the artifact possesses world-bending power. Eurus mutters that the display was actually pretty pathetic, claiming this top-tier gear is highly overrated while hiding his true nerves. Jiu nods. Eurus then asks what their next move is. Hyungnim, are you going to take on Hong's request? Jiu explains he has no choice since this mess involves him directly. Suddenly, we flash back to his secret talk with Hong. When she first asked, he shut her down instantly, arguing he had no clue what this mysterious passive boy even looked like. Hong fired back, asking him what he thought their target was truly after. Jiu guessed the guy was just trolling for fun, but Hong called out his naive take. This is strictly about cash. The villain duplicates rare loot to sell for real profit, and rumors say he is a top-tier merchant. Lately, he has been dumping duplicated items from Eurus's lair onto the open market. While crashing the economy isn't technically a crime under game rules, it is a disgusting abuse of admin powers. Jiu raises an eyebrow, asking what she means, prompting Hong to double down. If you do not step in now, the entire system collapses, and Chronolife will completely self-destruct from the hyperinflation. Jiu rubs his chin, wondering if she is just being overly dramatic. Why not just submit a support ticket to the customer service center and get the guy banned for good? Hong bursts out laughing, calling him a total blockhead. Jiu snaps back, demanding a retraction, but she explains that standard customer support will never be able to handle this type of exploit. File a report, and you will just get a generic bot response. Stepping onto her carriage, she reminds him that he is the legendary player who soloed the entire World Union Guild, meaning only he can stop this. Leaping down, she tells him that she is putting her trust in him. Before the virtual world completely dies, he must hunt down Passive Boy and eliminate him. Returning to the present, Jiu groans about what a massive chore this is, but ignoring it means his own high-tier loot will become worthless. Sarang sighs, asking how they can find him when they do not have a single clue to go on. You and I both know there is only one real option left when support ignores you. We blackmail the top executives. Uruz and Sarang are completely stunned by his crazy scheme. Over at corporate, Jiu dials the president directly, ordering him to meet at the Gukbap shop or else he will crash the game's servers all over again. On the other end, Dakbase stutters in rage, trying to understand what this crazy punk is talking about before Jiu hangs up, laughing hysterically. Absolutely livid, Dakbase slams his phone down, cursing the kid's entire existence. Jiu happily skips along, mocking how since customer support is useless, skipping straight to the president was the only logical choice. Deciding to grab some food during his trip, he plans to order 2 bowls of gukbap. But as soon as he opens the front door, he finds Han Sarang waiting right outside for him. Startled, Jiu warns her that she might get spotted. Sarang brushes it off, stating it is too dark for anyone to recognize her anyway, and besides, she insists that in the real world, he needs to address her as older sister. She quickly shoots a text to her guardian, claiming she is just heading out for a stroll. In the shower, her housemate groans that the brat did not even give her a proper warning. Meanwhile, at the Gukbap shop, Dakbei kicks the door open, screaming for that punk Lee Jiu. He fumes over how a mere kid has the audacity to demand a meeting with zero respect. Spotting the duo eating calmly, Dakbei storms over and grabs Jiu by the collar, calling him a brainless punk for ordering around his elders. However, his focus quickly shifts to the silent girl sitting across from him. He demands to know if she is Jiu's new girlfriend. Before Sarang can speak, Jiu interjects, asking if he has lost his mind since she is the country's top celebrity, Han Sarang. He warns him that her massive fanbase will absolutely ruin him if he keeps talking trash. Irritated by the attitude, Dakbei squeezes his collar tighter. Suddenly, Sarang slams her palm onto the table, demanding they cut the childish acts and get straight to business. Jiu nods, and seeing her intense glare, Dakbei lets go. Jiu nonchalantly orders another dish for the old man, who is totally caught off guard by the actual reason for this secret meeting. Item duplication. He scoffed, expecting something genuinely critical, and grumbles that these kids must treat their game like a total joke. He points out that official state security is impenetrable, meaning no lone hacker possesses the genius to pull this off. Jiu fires back, calling him a liar because an actual eyewitness saw the duplicate. Dakbei scoffs, claiming they just misidentified it. As the two keep bickering, Sarang steps in with a theory. If an outside hack is impossible, what if the culprit is an internal developer? Dakbei goes dead silent. He maintains that is also impossible, as even staff members using a Game Master login do not have the power to copy gear. Setting his spoon down, he makes an announcement. He claims he is too busy, tells them to pay for their own dinner, and leaves. Sarang waves him off happily, while Jiu mutters that the old guy wants him buried. Stepping outside, Dakbei lights a cigarette, exhaling deeply as he processes their warning. He immediately dials Team Leader Choi, ordering him to gather 5 of his most loyal and trusted operatives. Returning to the Stone Mountain dungeon, Jiu groans that they are back to square one, and Sarang nods in agreement. Jiu mutters that it is incredibly annoying, but whoever this passive boy is, he will personally crush him. Sarang giggles at his tough guy attitude, but then pauses to ask what this duplicate merchant is actually plotting. Jiu blinks, confused by her sudden interest. Sarang explains that if cash was his only drive, why go out of his way to target the Robin Hood Guild? Well, you and I will have to find out next time. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a crazy mystery. Jiu claims he has no clue, guessing they just hoarded pricey loot. But Sarang points out that makes 0 sense item duplication ruins the entire market. She questions why he targeted regular players and picked a fight with the information powerhouses of the Robin Hood Guild. Honestly, Jiu is completely caught off guard by her logic. Still, he claims he knows nothing. Sarang sighs, totally expectedly, prompting Jiu to insult her intelligence. But their bickering is cut short by a massive explosion right next to them. Staring at the towering wall of smoke, the girl panics. Sarang notes the blast power rivals Jiu's own destructive attacks. Jiu immediately sprints toward the danger, while she desperately screams out her friend's name. Through the smoke, Habek has collapsed on his knees. He is severely battered and missing an entire arm. Sun just bursts into a cruel laugh, mocking him for failing to live up to his legendary rumors. This is the great Habek. The boss demands to know why Sun is doing this, warning him that as this world's coordinator, this chaotic behavior will not go unpunished. The higher-ups will make him pay, and he will have nowhere to hide. But Sun just grabs him by the neck, sneering at him as a prideful AI, a useless piece of data daring to stand in his way. Killing a unique boss like him means absolute deletion, not a simple respawn. If Sun wants to avoid an eternity in digital hell, he had better start giving some real answers. He demands the location of Habek's master. Habek merely chuckles at the threat, mockingly asking if Sun truly expects him to snitch. Furious, Sun draws his blade to finish him off, but a sudden voice halts his blade. Sun realizes a major player has entered the field. Having arrived ahead of him, it is the goddess of life, Luna. He tells her to hold on while he slaughters this boss, promising she is next on his hit list. Luna just sighs with a mocking smile, saying that logging into a GM account has turned him into another brainless, arrogant fool. Now pay attention here, because things get intense. Sun snaps and insults her, but Luna calmly calls him trash. Surprisingly, Sun stops his blade and starts laughing. He tosses Habek aside like garbage, realizing there is no point wasting time since she is next on his list. He steps toward her, demanding the whereabouts of Habek's elusive master, but he adds she can take her sweet time. Once he tears off her limbs, he plans to hang her from a tree, sealing her wounds with fire while keeping her healed so she survives the torture. With a sadistic grin, he says they can talk all night. Luna stares back coldly, seeing a dark reflection of the hero. Closing her eyes, she notes Sun resembles him but is actually his polar opposite. Baffled, he tells her to stop talking nonsense. But before he can act, a colossal, terrifying claw plunges from the heavens, utterly flattening everything beneath its weight. Fresh blood splatters right across Luna's face as the massive beast's hand remains pinned to the ground. To her, Sun was nothing but a sickening parasite. Luna turns to depart, her ethereal beauty shining as she walks. Suddenly, his voice echoes he forgot about this beast. Reappearing, he pats its leg, realizing she is the monster's master. Now he understands her confidence, admitting this giant summon will be a real pain to deal with. Shocked, Luna spins around, demanding to know how he survived that fatal blow. She vows to finish him for good, declaring garbage like him has no right to exist. Sun shrugs it off, completely unbothered, and immediately begins chanting to warp reality itself. Luna looks around as they are instantly warped into a bizarre, separate dimension. This is the GM Zone, a restricted testing space accessible only to those possessing special developer privileges. Alright, let's pause. Sun actually mocks her for being cringe, telling her to stop treating this game like real life. Meanwhile, back in reality, Ju and Sarang are still sprinting toward the scene. The girl asks if that giant blast came from the passive kid. Ju nods, guessing it must be that notorious hacker from the company. The president claimed it was impossible, but his face said otherwise. Didn't she hear that the passive kid wiped out the entire Robin Hood guild alone? He must have created an overpowered account and is executing his plan. Sarang begs him to speed up, asking if they can run any faster, but Ju admits he has not put a single stat point into agility. Reaching the edge of the GM zone, Sarang questions the strange area. Habeck, lying injured nearby, explains these are teleportation remnants left by the passive boy, greeting Ju as the hero. Ju asks what he is doing here and why his arm is gone. Suddenly, Sarang remembers this is the exact villain who had kidnapped her earlier. Habeck reveals the passive boy assaulted him and dragged Luna into the GM zone. When Ju asks who Luna is, Habeck mentions she talks about him constantly, teasing that Ju likes her, which immediately annoys Sarang. He describes her as a beautiful girl with long black hair. Ju is confused, asking if he means that annoying little cockroach, since they barely know each other. Sarang teases that she is totally his type, but Ju tells her to snap out of it, saying she is projecting. He is not crazy enough to fall for someone who insulted his parents, insisting he is not interested in the slightest. Hearing this, the girl is visibly relieved. Habeck dismisses their banter, saying none of that matters, while Iris quietly watches from a distance, finding the group quite adorable. Suddenly, Habeck coughs up a fresh puddle of blood. Ju asks if he is all right, noting he looks like he is about to kick the bucket. Habeck gasps, begging the hero to save his life. Ju wonders why he should bother helping when they could easily just loot his corpse. Sarang agrees, suggesting they split the rare drops. But Habeck warns them that if he dies, their magic mirror disappears too. Ju quickly grabs his shoulder, telling him to stay calm because he will save him. Sarang is skeptical, asking how he expects to do that without any healing potions on hand. Ju shrugs, saying it is under control as his power begins to flare. Activating a unique rookie ability, he prepares to cast a cleric healing spell, though it only restores raw health points. Slowly, Habeck's health bar begins ticking up, rising by exactly 1 point at a time. Habeck grimaces, asking if this is actual healing or a form of torture. Ju mutters that he probably should have put some points into intelligence. He wonders about the severed arm, knowing that while scars fade at full health, lost limbs require a trip to the tavern. Habeck clarifies that only applies to players. Monsters like him can only regenerate lost limbs after a full respawn. Ju offers to put him out of his misery with one quick blow, so it is painless. But Habeck panics, revealing that as a unique boss, his death means permanent deletion with no respawns. Horrified, Ju yells about how terrible this game system is. Habeck tries to soothe him, explaining there are only a handful of unique entities like him, so it does not break the entire world. He points out that Eurus is also unique, which the dragon confirms. That is why they are so desperate for salvation. And to make matters worse, Luna falls into this exact same category. Ju is stunned, unable to believe that annoying cockroach is actually a major boss. Meanwhile, inside the GM zone, a massive blast erupts as Sun rushes Luna, screaming for her death. The goddess stands her ground, daring him to strike. The resulting impact unleashes a shockwave of raw power. Without missing a beat, Sun swings again, causing another massive explosion. Luna warns him that his efforts are useless. Hovering in the air with fury in her eyes, she declares that as the goddess of life, a lowly human can never destroy a deity. Sun completely cuts her off, acting like he cannot hear. And trust me, you and I will love seeing her furious reaction. Alright. You and I are jumping right into a wild confrontation where Juan calls her childish, claiming she only acts cool. He's been at this company for years and knows her tricks. Plus, he watched her duel with our main character because the security footage leaked to all the company higher-ups. That annoying boast about being completely untouchable. Turns out, it's just the goddess of life's hidden cheat skill, life creation. It's not that she's immune to damage. She just instantly recreates her entire body the second she's about to die. Armed with this knowledge, he charges forward with his blade. His strike unleashes a massive energy blast, hitting Luna head-on. Naturally, she activates her life creation cheat once again. As she reverts to her goddess form, Sun Won notes that this broken skill generated the most player complaints during the game's launch. She even used this power to create Uraken, crafting him from left head fragments found in Oris's nest. No wonder she called him her son. Shungan attempts another strike, but Luna gets annoyed, tells him he talks too much, and slices him clean in half with her scepter. She mocks him, asking why any of this matters since knowing her secret doesn't stop her from living. As Sungan's body goes flying, he smirks, noting she finally attacked him directly. Suddenly, her powerful scepter shrinks back into her basic starter staff, leaving her completely baffled. Sungan grins, asking what she thought he smuggled into this custom pocket dimension. Luna's majestic robes start shifting too, reverting her all the way back to her basic player appearance. She looks absolutely terrified. Sun mocks her, asking if she always had such a cute face under that godly ego. Slashing her with his sword, he declares that her death will force Habek's master to show. So, farewell, unique boss goddess of life. Cut to a high-end bar, where a table is loaded with top-shelf liquor. Sun downs a glass and slams it down, shouting that nothing beats cold booze after hours of brutal overtime. His subordinate praises his hard work, saying they're on the final stretch. But Shungan disagrees, grumbling because that annoying bastard Habek still hasn't summoned his master. The employee argues that defeating Luna should have done the trick and drawn Habek's boss out. However, Sungan delivers the shocker, revealing he failed to take her life. The underling is stunned. Sungan looks down, muttering that it is fine because there are other ways to track him. Still, the subordinate admits he is dying to know the identity of Habek's mysterious master. Sungan laughs, asking if he's really been loyal without even knowing the target. But hey, pay attention here, because this is where the real mastermind gets revealed. Sungan sets down his glass, explaining that the target is one of the main story bosses in Chrono Life, the ultimate merchant, the disaster of sloth. The shocked employee asks if a monster is actually a merchant, which Sun confirms. His buddy recalls hearing about this, noting Uraken was known as gluttony. Sun sighs, asking how he doesn't know the 7 deadly sins, a concept that's literally everywhere in anime, movies, and games. Pride, greed, envy, wrath, lust, gluttony, and sloth. These dark traits form the core of the entire lore as the legendary 7 deadly sins. The employee jokes that it sounds like lazy plagiarism, but Sun calls him a total idiot. The whole design concept of the main story bosses revolves around this classic theme. Eurus of pride, Urakan of gluttony, Riot of sloth, and Luna of lust. The worker freaks out, realizing that Crazy Goddess was actually a major boss. He argues that letting a main boss roam around as a player totally breaks the game's balance. But Sun explains that just because she's a boss doesn't mean she has to be a non-playable character. The baffled worker asks if a normal player can actually class change into a boss. Sun slams his glass down, stating Chrono Life offers insane freedom. A boss can become a merchant and a player can become a main boss. Ju groans that this whole system is way too complex, wanting to know what that annoying cockroach really is. Is she some weird hybrid of a player and an NPC? Habek admits he is out of his depth here, but suggests the passive guy would know since he is a game master. Our main character grumbles that this gives him another perfect reason to punch him. Now, let's pause here. Saring interrupts with a solid question, asking why on earth the passive guy is trying to meet the disaster of sloth. If his goal was pure cash, he could have easily auctioned the loot. She notes his moves have been completely illogical since the Robin Hood Guild incident. Habek chimes in, saying he might actually know the real motive. It's all because of the Peace of God, which is basically another name for mythic rank gear. Ju mutters that he's definitely heard that term before. Eurus explains that Habek mentioned this during Captain Love's kidnapping, referencing mythic items. Out of nowhere, Hong approaches, asking if they are discussing those incredibly rare mythic rank items as well. She apologizes for vanishing, explaining she was busy running her own solo investigation. Hong then suggests they party up because she has actually located the passive guy's secret hideout. The party follows Hong deep into the mountains, stopping before a tiny, isolated wooden cabin. Sering doubts this is the spot, finding it way too modest for a mastermind. Hong confirms it, using her appraisal skill to verify the location is correct. Jiu asks if the owner is currently inside, but Hong says the place looks completely deserted. What a bummer. Someone mentions wanting to take a look inside, but before another word is spoken, a loud crash echoes as Jiu completely shatters the cabin wall with a single swing of his stick. A stunned Hong asks how he managed to break down the barrier so easily. Jiu casually replies that he just hit it. Stepping inside, Sering's jaw immediately hits the floor. Mountains of gold sit piled next to priceless artifacts. She wonders if these are duplicated items, but Hong corrects her. None of these are copies, they are all genuine mythic rank gear. Hong estimates the hoard is worth around 5 billion, leaving the entire team totally speechless. She points out several items stolen during the raid, guessing he dumped them here because his personal inventory was completely full. So, his ultimate objective was indeed the mythic loot. Jiu wonders why, questioning if he did it for money, since raiding Urus's nest would have yielded a fortune anyway. Hong explains that regular raids only bring minor cash, and the company would flag him immediately. Mythic gear is special, because there is a specific VIP buyer willing to purchase every single piece. Jiu guesses the buyer must be, but Hong cuts him off, revealing it is Habek's master, the ultimate merchant, Riot. Habek agrees with the theory, while Hong mutters that this passive guy is truly evil. Still, it is a brilliant strategy. Since Riot is not an actual player, there is zero risk of leaks, allowing him to unload the items without crashing the game's economy. If they grab a screenshot of this stash and report it to customer support, the administration will ban him for storing illicit items in his private territory. She removes her mask and thanks the party for their help, glad to wrap up this case. But Yu stops her, demanding to know who gave her permission to report him. He asks if she thinks she is starring in some drama, monologuing all day only to end it with a customer service report. Hong nods, asking if there is a better plan. Jiu scoffs, asking what else they would do besides hunting down the passive guy and beating some real sense into him ourselves. Back in the city, he shows up wearing Hong's mask, while an angry sun glares at him from the crowd. Sering wonders if that is indeed the passive guy, appearing right in the town square as predicted. Sun barks, demanding why he's wearing that ridiculous mask. And trust me, you and I are about to watch this stick bastard get wrecked. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild story that starts with Jiu laughing off his borrowed mask from Hong, while a rooftop assassin spots our passive hero right on cue, confirming everything is going according to plan. The guildmate demands to know what he is planning right there in the open. Back in the cabin, Jiu calmly explains their first move is stripping the guy of every single item. Hong demands answers, but Jiu tells her it is too much of a hassle to explain, so she just needs to trust his plan and lend him her legendary mask. Sarang kicks him in the spine for that. Soon after, Shengwan approaches the cabin, losing his mind when he sees the shattered wall of his supposedly indestructible personal hideout. He screams, desperately searching for his mythic gear and piles of cash, but finds absolutely nothing. Realizing he is completely ruined, his eyes land on a mocking note left on the floor. Jiu's note simply reads that to get his stuff back, he needs to show up at the village at 7 p.m. Cut to the present, a furious Shengwan demands his money back, but Jiu warns him to stay back. Pulling out the rare draconic fire dagger, Jiu threatens to dump it at the nearest NPC shop. Shengwan scoffs, shouting that the weapon is worth 200 million in real cash, while a shop would pay pennies. Gritting his teeth, he screams in absolute rage, demanding to know what Jiu wants. Jiu calmly replies that he wants absolutely nothing, but if he had to pick, he wants Shengwan to figure it out himself. Observing this, Sering thinks our underpants-wearing hero looks like a total villain. Jiu then taunts, asking if the trash has a problem. What are you going to do now? Watching him shake with rage is hilarious, but suddenly, Shengwan vanishes and teleports right behind Jiu. Now, pay attention, because here's where things get absolutely chaotic. He teleports them straight to the GM zone, leaving the village in a massive cloud of smoke as Sering realizes they both vanished. Inside the GM zone, a brutal explosion rocks the area as they clash with insane force. The admin screams, asking how a filthy pig dares to lay hands on a godlike game administrator. He threatens to slice Jiu's body into cubes. Jiu takes a massive, direct hit that triggers a violent blast, forcing him to drag his staff through the dirt just to slow himself down. The brutal impact shatters Hong's mask, revealing a bloody gash on Jiu's face. Jiu just sneers, telling the admin he is even worse than trash for calling a paying customer a pig. But Jiu's face heals instantly thanks to his insane healing factor. Shengwan snaps back, asking who cares about that, claiming players like him have lost all touch with reality. You losers go completely crazy over mere digital data, so there is absolutely no reason to treat scummy players like human beings. He strikes once more, unleashing an apocalyptic blast that obliterates everything in sight. You are so cringe, Jiu mocks. You are just blaming players because you are having a pathetic midlife crisis. This completely triggers Shengwan, who vanishes into thin air. Jiu expects an aerial drop, but the strike blindsides him from behind instead. He panics, completely losing sight of his enemy. Slashing attacks rain down on Jiu from every angle as Shengwan screams at him to never underestimate the developers. No matter how hard developers work, they only get endless insults. He flashes back to 7 years ago at the game headquarters, back when he was still an innocent, passionate creator. Jiu cuts him off, smashing his staff right into his face. He yells that he does not care about some trashy villain backstory and tells him to shut his mouth. The strike triggers a massive, blinding explosion. As the smoke clears, Shengwan activates his own healing factor, regenerating instantly before ripping a deep slash across Jiu's chest. Jiu is shocked to see him heal, but remembers that an admin account would naturally have cheats. Suddenly, Shengwan triggers a hidden strength skill called Spirit of a Titan. I know what you're thinking, is this hidden skill about to break the game? Massive blue energy flares as Jiu recognizes it, watching the admin rise with godlike power. This incredible skill grants colossal giant strength with requirements mirroring the healing factor. Shengwan screams in pure fury, and the spectral titan materializing behind him perfectly mimics his angry movements. Eerie blue energy floods his system. Jiu wonders why the admin gets such flashy special effects when his own healing factor looks like nothing. The skill finally reaches full charge. Once active, his attack power and range skyrocket by a massive 1000%. He raises his blade, swinging a devastating horizontal slash right at Jiu. Jiu instantly senses the overwhelming danger but gets blasted head-on by a wave of pure annihilation. Fortunately, his healing factor triggers, stitching his broken body back together. Gripping his staff, Jiu looks at the wasteland around him. He calls the skill a complete cheat and demands that the admin hand it over right now. Before the admin can even react, a dark tentacle impales his stomach. Jiu activates his hidden gluttony skill, eager to drain his stats and steal that power. But Shengwan evades the worst of it, triggering a legendary agility skill called Lightspeed Dash. In a flash, dozens of cuts slash Jiu from every direction. He wonders how Jiu is still standing. Utilizing his Lightspeed Dash, he moves freely in any direction, charging again while shouting that battles are won by numbers, and his stats are all maxed out at level 99,999. With that, he buries a devastating punch deep into Jiu's gut, sending him flying backward through the air. Landing smoothly, Shengwan wonders if the kid is stupid. No matter how godlike his mechanical control is, you cannot overcome such an overwhelming difference in stats. He sneers that Jiu's actual skills are garbage, calling him a pathetic loser carried by high-end gear. Down on one knee, thoroughly disgusted hearing this lecture from a cheap hacker who only gets by abusing admin powers. The admin scoffs, telling Jiu he should have applied to be a GM himself if he's so jealous of his godlike power and passionate gameplay. He brags about editing database files to become invincible, but a sudden headbutt cuts him off. Jiu rockets forward, smashing his skull directly into his face. Shengwan gets blasted back with a bloodied nose and a look of total horror. He screams, demanding to know how Jiu moves so fast with terrible speed stats. What else besides raw mechanical skill? Jiu replies. The furious admin scrambles up, calling him an arrogant bastard and launching another Lightspeed Dash, screaming that no basic skill can ever match his raw velocity. But Jiu easily ducks, explaining he is not using skills, but leveraging the game engine itself. He swings his staff midair and instantly pivots, leaving the admin completely baffled. He explains he used the recoil option, swinging backwards so the physics momentum launched him forward at extreme speed, straight towards Shengwan. The corrupt administrator is stunned by the brilliant trick. Jiu slams his staff directly into the guy's skull as Shengwan realizes he is insanely fast. Jiu just smiles, playing it off like it was a total fluke. The admin crashes hard into the dirt, kicking up dust, while Jiu mocks him, asking how that amazing physics lesson felt. He explains that turning off recoil assist in settings allows for crazy momentum, asking how it feels to get slammed by a physics-breaking rebound strike. So, what do you and I take from this? True skill beats a wallet warrior, even as the angry admin screams about trash mechanics and lucky flukes. Jiu just casually agrees with him, admitting that his raw speed is indeed much slower than that Lightspeed Dash. Alright, you and I are about to watch the ultimate showdown. Xiang Wan just laughs, mocking Jiu as a low-level trash player who got lucky with one single hit. After all, a standard user could never beat a god-tier opponent. But Jiu just smiles and says there is always a way, pointing his hand forward as a strange purple light erupts. He bids farewell to the arrogant admin, calling their brief clash pretty fun. Meanwhile, in the real world, Sarang is dying to know what Underwear Boy is planning. Strong or not, how can he beat a game master? Hong admits she has no clue either, adding that apparently, not even his own girlfriend was let in on the secret. Sarang blushes at the girlfriend label, admitting Ju only mentioned a plan to provoke the guy into entering the game master zone. But Hong is still worried. Why did he leave a mysterious note and delay the entire operation by a full day? She feels this delay is the secret to his victory. Back in the digital world, the massive purple energy in Ju's hand grows even more intense. Xiang Wan starts getting nervous, wondering if this cocky kid actually has a secret weapon. That is when our hero triggers his skill, Character Summon, the absolute lowest tier spell in the game. Xiang Wan blinks in disbelief, repeats the name, and literally bursts out laughing. He expected some legendary, game-breaking spell, but it is just a basic, low-level summon. He sneers, asking if Ju thinks he is some elite master, because without high intelligence and charisma stats, that skill is useless. At his trashy level, the absolute best he can summon is some weak, pathetic little mob. He insults him one last time, but suddenly, his voice completely cuts off. A massive portal tears open, and a man steps through, calmly lighting a cigar and adjusting his sunglasses. It is Diak Bei, and watch closely now, Xiang Wan's jaw literally hits the floor. Ju just smirks. Knowing this glorious reaction made every single bit of his effort totally worth it. We flash back to the night before, where a colleague asks Diak Bei to stay out for another round of drinks. Diak Bei politely declines, claiming he has to pull some overtime. His coworker respects the dedication, leaving him to head out with the others instead. But on his way out, that employee runs straight into a group of men in sharp suits. They are escorting the big boss, President Diak Bei. Soon after, in a pitch-black alley, the trembling traitor begs for his life. He screams that he was only following orders and planned to flee the country the second he got paid. When a team leader asks how to handle him, Diak Bei coldly orders them to make him disappear. He then turns to Jiu, thanking him for helping them catch this rat before he could do any real damage. Jiu nods along, seriously wondering if he is dealing with a gaming studio or a literal crime syndicate. Diak Bei warns him that one more useless call would have been his end, and Jiu wise up and accepts it. The president laughs it off as a joke, promising to personally crush the rogue admin. He plans to unleash their legal department to sue him into oblivion, and obviously, kick him out of the company. Jiu asks if the boss has any plans for tomorrow at 7 p.m. When Diak Bei says his schedule is clear, our hero grins, inviting him to join a very special, hands-on lesson they are about to teach. Back in the present, Jin Wan's legs turn to absolute jelly at the sight of the chairman, and he screams in terror. He desperately screams at the system to log him out, but battle mode locks him in. Panicking, he decides to shut down the Game Master Zone entirely, but Jiu quickly calls out his pathetic escape attempt. The president just scoffs and activates his supreme presidential zone. The sky instantly turns an ominous shade of green, leaving a crying Wan, realizing his life is officially over. Unsheathing his sword with shaking hands, he mutters that he does not care anymore, since he can just quit the job once this is done. Charging forward at blinding speed, he swings with wild abandon, determined to send his own boss straight to hell. But his strike completely whiffs, doing nothing but clipping the ash off the president's cigar. Wan freezes in pure horror while Jiu watches, jaw dropped. The president calmly takes a drag, muttering that even stray dogs hesitate before biting their masters, but Xiang Wan is far worse than a rabid beast. You see, President Choi Diak Bei has infinite level and infinite stats. He winds up a colossal fist, dropping the ultimate line, "You are fired." Xiang Wan can do nothing but close his eyes and accept his doom. That legendary fist connects, absolutely obliterating his face in a millisecond. A massive shockwave, way stronger than any of Jiu's moves, tears out of the admin's back. Okay, I know what you were thinking. That single punch completely erased the guy. Jiu was stunned that the damage bypassed a 9,999 healing factor. Just wild. With that, every single epic item stolen by the corrupt admin instantly returns to its rightful owner. Turns out, multiple top guilds have been secretly targeted by his schemes. Jiu later learns that Xiang Wan was fired on the spot, and to make it better, the chairman gave him a massive real-life beatdown before throwing him out on the street. The idiot actually tried to sue the chairman for assault, but that only made his miserable life worse. The wealthy boss went completely all in on the legal defense and cleared his name of all charges. Now Xiang Wan will spend the rest of his days paying off millions in damages. On top of that, word got out that he is blacklisted from the entire industry forever. And that is how we get a beautiful, happy ending. Back in the starting village, our boy's life as a humble merchant goes right back to normal business. Meeting up with his crew, he sees Hong in her signature mask and Sarang smiling brightly. Peace has finally returned. Logging out of Chronolife, he collapses onto his living room couch with a deep, exhausted sigh. But there is still one lingering question eating away at Ju, something he never got the chance to ask that corrupt admin before he got deleted. He wanted to know how that cockroach girl could be an NPC and a player at the same time, and why she was a ghost to everyone. But as he sits up, his jaw drops. There's a girl sitting right on his couch. Luna grins, teasing that it is great to see Mr. Loser again. Cut to a few minutes later, and Ju is cooking her some fresh ramen. She drools, saying it looks absolutely delicious. Ju snaps back that of course it is. He watches her scarf it down, completely baffled as to why she is in his house. But hey, at least he has his answer. She was never an NPC. This girl is a real player. Luna catches him staring, causing them both to blush red. She asks him why he is looking at her like that. Jiu tries to play it cool, but she teases him, asking if it is because she is so beautiful. Annoyed, he tells her to shut up and just eat her noodles. He eats his own food, face still red. He admits she is gorgeous, but then remembers how she insulted him before, asking why she would ever party up with a loser like him. Plus, she literally called his parents beggars. Jiu snaps out of it, realizing he is acting like a simp. He looks her dead in the eye and asks who she is, how she found his house, and how she knew his passcode. Luna finishes up her bowl, standing up to stretch. She offers to reward him for the meal by answering his burning questions, telling him he can ask her absolutely anything he wants to know. Jiu eyes her suspiciously but agrees to the deal, deciding to start off with a lighter question first. He asks if her hair color is natural, since she had pink hair during their first encounter. Luna blushes, reminding him he asked that before, but she is secretly happy he remembered their first battle. She confirms it is, leaving Jiu totally confused. And that is where we leave it for now, trust me. You are going to want to see what happens next in their crazy story. Alright, let's jump back into this crazy game. Our main character asks Luna if her character got deleted after losing to that passive boy. She explains she died, but survived deletion because she was in her human form. Jiu demands more details, and Luna admits she had no idea her divine powers would completely vanish inside an administrator zone. Honestly, that was a massive relief. Otherwise, she would have been forced to rebuild her entire character from scratch. Jiu asks if she still plans to slay 1,000 players to become the goddess of life. Luna shakes her head, explaining that the massive body count was actually just one of the conditions. There is an even harder quest to unlock her class transition. Since she can freely swap between human and goddess forms, she asks if he has any other questions. Jiu thanks her for being so open, but points out she completely dodged his main question. He looks at her and asks once more who is she really. He points out that following him around in the game is one thing, but showing up at his real-life apartment is crossing the line. He warns her to stop playing games and threatens to call the police if she does not start talking. Luna stares at him silently, then sighs, mentioning how this world has far too many distractions. She stands up and reveals she actually came here to present him with an exclusive offer. She bluntly asks if he wants to become her partner. Jiu freezes in absolute shock, but then realizes she meant something else entirely. Cue the incredibly awkward silence. Suddenly, his doorbell rings over and over. Jiu wonders who could possibly visit so late. He opens it to find Sarang, who demands to know if her boxer boyfriend is home. She insists they need to discuss something vital and asks to come inside, but Jiu nervously glances back toward his room where Luna is hiding. He hesitates, sweating over the literal goddess hiding in his room. After a tense moment, he opens the door fully. Sarang immediately pouts, complaining about being left out in the cold. Now, watch closely here. She steps inside, realizing his apartment is surprisingly clean, and notes that the entire layout is almost identical to her very own place. She spots a snack on the table and teases him about his love for late-night spicy food. Jiu awkwardly nods, then quickly asks what brings her to his apartment at this hour. Sarang says it is about the game and asks when he will log in tomorrow. Jiu plays it cool, saying he has to wake up, eat breakfast, and check his schedule first. Back in the bedroom, Luna listens to everything, burning with jealousy. Sarang threatens to murder him if he overslept tomorrow, but before she heads out, she demands one quick thing. She asks for his phone to save her number, arguing she can't just drop by his house every single time. Jiu asks if a major celebrity should really be giving her number out so easily. She types her name in, hands it back, and tells him to call her immediately so she can save his number as well. Before walking out, she jokingly warns him to answer her texts or prepare for death. The door shuts, leaving Jiu completely dazed. Meanwhile, out in the hallway, Sering sighs in absolute relief. She actually pulled it off. She got his number without looking desperate. Now, she just needs to text him as soon as possible. Inside, Jiu complains that this chaotic night is going to give him a literal heart attack. Luna pops out, questioning why he made her hide when they were not doing anything sketchy. He fires back that her presence alone is sketchy. He is totally exhausted and just wants her to leave, but Luna casually says she will only go after spending the night, driving him absolutely insane. Luna laughs it off, saying she is joking and will leave once he answers her proposal. Jiu snaps, asking what kind of crazy offer that is, and why she keeps talking complete nonsense. When he asks who she really is, Luna says that is too vague. Instead, she gets straight to the point. She wants him to join her in-game party. The next day, in a grand hall, a subordinate calls his master. Let's pause right here. A one-armed warrior kneels, addressing this massive figure as the Lord Disaster of Sloth. The great merchant Riot sits on his throne, staring at the bloody injury and demanding to know what happened. Habek begs for forgiveness, blaming his own pathetic lack of skill for losing the arm. Infuriated, Riot extends his hand, instantly healing the wound, as a brand new arm sprouts from the stump. Habek gasps in absolute shock, amazed by his master's terrifying power. Riot demands to know who did this, asking if it was the legendary hero they discussed. Habek shakes his head, revealing that, shockingly, the hero was actually the one who saved him. He believes his master would highly approve of him, calling the boy the ultimate candidate for the 7 deadly sins. Meanwhile, on a beach in Chrono Life, level 30 players are busy fighting common slimes. But this area's actual boss is a total nightmare, the level 85 Kraken. It boasts hides so thick that no regular blade can pierce it, alongside deadly tentacles that dominate both land and sea. This monster is a poorly balanced, highly aggressive nightmare, notorious for absolutely traumatizing rookie players. But right now, Jiu punches it straight in the mouth, using a precise skill that leaves target monsters with exactly 1 hit point. The Kraken instantly collapses to the ground. Jiu screams for Captain Love to make her move. She leaps high into the air, pulls off a stunning flip, and unleashes her fallen dragon stomp, utterly crushing the giant beast into the dirt. Jiu is highly impressed by that clean finish, asking if she earned massive experience points. Sadly, the girl shakes her head, admitting she barely got anything. Eurus explains that their massive level gap is blocking her from soaking up any real experience. Still, Jiu notes her skill looks way stronger than the last time she unleashed it. Sering smiles, crediting her new weapon. Jiu remembers the gauntlets he gave her, pointing out that she can easily solo hunt without him now. But she quickly reminds him that would mean staying away from her favorite briefs boy, admitting she much prefers being carried by him anyway. As they chat, Luna watches them from the sky, looking incredibly gorgeous. She recalls Jiu's incredibly blunt rejection from yesterday when he had flatly turned down her proposal. He had told her no, explaining that he refuses to play with someone who backstabbed him during their first meeting. Plus, he's already partied up with Sering, who would literally destroy him. Luna watches the girl grab Jiu's arm, muttering jealously that she would love nothing more than to ruin her entire life. But she turns away, letting it slide for now. After all, Jiu will eventually be hers, and she needs that girl's life to trigger Chronolife's true ending. Meanwhile, Eurus warns Jiu that boosting her level won't work forever. The system restricts it due to their massive level gap. As Jiu asks for a workaround, his weird whispering quickly catches Sering's attention. Jiu desperately brainstorms a backup plan, but Sering interrupts. She points out he has been talking to empty air and asks if someone else is actually there. Startled, Jiu asks if she can't see the tiny dragon beside him, but Sering looks completely lost. Eurus sighs, reminding his master that ordinary players can't see him. Oh right, but Eurus reveals a loophole. If Jiu shares his mana, he can summon him into reality. Trust me, you and I need to see how this unfolds. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the madness. Jiu doubts his low mana can summon anything, but Eurus tells him not to worry. Suddenly, a massive wave of purple energy erupts from Jiu, and Sering watches in awe as a blinding light begins to gather at a single spot. Out pops Eurus in the most adorable tiny dragon form imaginable, letting out a cute little squeak. The second Sering sees him, she gets a massive nosebleed, squealing to touch the cute beast. Eurus is totally offended by her audacity. How dare a mere human touch a legendary dragon? Is she not afraid of eternal damnation? but Jiu tells him to relax, and she immediately glues herself to the tiny lizard. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoes across the beach. He has finally found them. Jiu spins around to see Habek riding in on his griffin, completely confused about why he is here. Habek frantically explains that things have gotten insanely complicated and he had to escape in a massive hurry to find the hero. Jiu immediately asks how he even tracked them down. Habek reveals he used a special mirror skill, the seventh vision of exploration, which basically tracks any opponent he has faced before. He warns that they have zero time to waste because a terrifying powerhouse is heading straight for their exact location right now. Jiu cuts him off, noticing his fully healed arm. Habek confirms his master fixed it, but warns they are facing a massive, world-class problem. Right on cue, an overwhelming pressure causes the entire island to tremble. Is this an earthquake? Sarang and Uruz both freeze up, sensing the insane power in the air. With a terrified face, Habek mutters that the monster has arrived. Floating down is his absolute master, the ruler of the Golden Throne, flanked by a literal army of angels. This is Riot, the disaster of sloth. Sarang looks up in shock, wondering if that is some kind of elite soldier in holy angelic armor. But Jiu is busy remembering the terrifying rumors he heard about this disaster. Since Riot is known as the Great Merchant, Jiu expected a human-sized beast like Habek and cannot comprehend why this entity is so insanely massive. Habek flies up on his griffin to meet him, apologizing for failing to explain the situation in detail. Riot coldly tells him it is fine because he will descend and explain everything himself. Terrified out of his mind, Habek just closes his eyes and accepts his fate. Now pay attention here, this entrance is absolutely wild. The massive golden throne drops from the sky at high speed, crashing into the sand and blasting our main characters away. Riot smiles, saying it is a pleasure to meet the current hero. Jiu feels a cold sweat, genuinely wondering if this kid is actually the disaster of sloth. Meanwhile, far away in the forest, Luna walks calmly toward a mysterious ruin. It looks like she has a master plan ready. She mutters that she finally found him sitting right there on his throne. Resting before her is the legendary figure considered the strongest human in history, the first hero, Lord Yope. Luna whispers that the description matches the game perfectly, a legendary, forgotten, yet strangely familiar hero. Suddenly, the mark on Yope's forehead glows, unleashing an eerie power. Luna remarks that she expected this, aiming her scepter directly at him. She notes that while this game's story is childish and cliché, that is exactly what makes it so charming. Her staff blazes with light, locked onto the ancient hero. Meanwhile, back on the island, Jiu stares at Riot deep in thought. This kid is Sloth, a deadly sin commanding the strongest angel tribe, and a legendary merchant in Chrono Life. His epic presence perfectly matches that massive, solid gold throne towering several meters high above them. But despite all this godlike majesty, he looks like a literal toddler, leaving Jiu and Sarang completely speechless. Uruz chuckles, noting the brat still has that same annoying aura after all these years. Floating down effortlessly, Riot drifts toward our main character. He introduces himself as Riot of Sloth, asking if Jiu is the hero Habek talked about. Jiu warily replies that he probably is. Jiu feels deeply unsettled by this kid. Riot sighs in absolute disappointment, mocking how much humanity has degraded if a scrub like Jiu is actually considered a legendary hero these days. Before Jiu can even ask what he means, boom. An explosive kick slams directly into his face. Sarang is stunned by the speed. Riot instantly spins, landing another brutal kick that sends Jiu crashing into a massive boulder, taking heavy damage. Habek panics and screams, asking Lord Riot why he is attacking the hero who actually helped them out. But Riot just snaps at him to shut up. He says if he wanted to chat, he wouldn't have traveled all this way. He argues their kind is destined to fight humans, calling Habek an idiot for approaching them so carelessly. Pulling himself out of the rubble, Jiu admits the kid is right about that. The brat knows players and monsters can never be buddies, so he tells Habek to stay back. Jiu gets ready, stating that since Riot threw the first punch, a counterattack is totally fair. Riot just glares, spitting out that Jiu is mistaken. He claims Jiu was the one who started this war. Confused, Jiu asks when he ever attacked. For an answer, Riot slams his foot down, triggering a massive shockwave across the beach. Okay, think about this for a second. Uruz, the pride of the Sins, died early, breaking the entire game. Riot screams this, throwing a massive boulder. Jiu blocks it, asking why he is complaining only now. Jiu shatters the rock with his staff, causing another huge blast. Riot screams that Uruz was supposed to be the absolute strongest boss in Chrono Life, bearing a brutal kick deep into the hero's stomach. He was meant for the epic final raid of the main story, but Jiu killed him early and completely ruined the game balance. Huracan of Gluttony was never meant to be destroyed either. These legendary bosses were supposed to survive for 10 years. Sarang tries to argue that Huracan attacked first and Jiu only saved her, but Riot fiercely screams at her to shut up. The poor girl flinches in terror. The deadly sin snaps, asking how she dares to interrupt him without his absolute permission. An oppressive gravity slams her straight to the dirt. She gasps, realizing she has never felt such insane power in a game before, not even when fighting Huracan. Watching from afar, Ruse senses a shift in the air as he and Riot lock eyes. Riot explains that Huracan was born precisely because Uruz fell, making Jiu directly responsible for this entire mess. And the massive snowball effect is finally ready to explode. The strongest legend in Chrono life, the first great hero, Yopei, is about to be resurrected. Yopei's skeletal remains suddenly open their eyes, radiating an aura matching Luna's. A smug smile spreads across her face as she admits she knows it is not quite his time to wake up. That is exactly why she is here to feed him her dark magic. His skeletal hands sprout flesh and muscle, fully regenerating beneath his gauntlets. Yopei stands up from his throne, unleashing tidal waves of energy. Jiu asks why his resurrection is such a bad thing. If he is a legendary hero, he should protect humanity, so his return from the grave should be a win, right? Riot just groans in annoyance, calling Jiu dumber than expected. He should know this already. Yopei will not return as a noble human, but as one of the 7 deadly sins. Absolute destruction and bitter revenge against the humans who betrayed him will be his only drive. Suddenly, the temple floor shatters as skeletal hands claw their way out of the dirt. An undead soldier rises, the first of an entire legion marching out of the ruins. The massive energy surging from Yopei is so intense it can be seen from anywhere in Chrono life. Luna explains that the hero who once loved humanity now harbors absolute hatred after his tragic death. It is a classic childish story, and a massive skeletal dragon rises to join his dark crusade. Yopei proudly proclaims himself the first hero and the new sin of wrath. Long ago, the beautiful, ancient continent of Chrono was a blessed paradise completely free from any war, conflict, or despair. But that peace shattered when the demons invaded, slaughtering humans. And that is where we leave it, trust me. You are going to want to see what happens when Chrono turns into a living hell. Alright, you and I are starting with a grand legend about the first hero, Yopei. But our main character, Jiu, literally just skips the cutscene. When asked why, he simply says he does not care about game lore. Classic gamer move. So, the big takeaway is that some dark hero is returning. Still, Jiu is annoyed. He took a hit to the face, and she traveled all this way just to deliver a boring lore dump. Then he drops a reality check on her. He tells her he one-shotted Uruz, her precious idol. Whether it is the strongest human or some ancient hero, he is not scared. He has absolutely zero reasons to fear her. Riot just laughs, calling him completely brainless. She cannot believe a mere human does not feel fear, especially when the first hero and his massive army are about to crush everyone in their path. She turns around to leave, but Jiu stops her, asking if she came to fight. Riot just scoffs, saying he is not even worth the effort. She only wanted to check out the current hero but realized he is nothing special. To her, Yopei is the only true warrior. She fought beside him, and she knows Jiu will never stand a chance against a literal god. Now pay attention here, because Jiu is not letting this slide. He sighs, thanking her for the extra motivation to thrash her. If she thinks she can attack him and just walk away, she is dead wrong. But Havoc steps in, begging Jiu to cool off. Jiu glares, telling him to let go unless he wants to join his master in the afterlife. Still, Havoc insists the talk is done and there is no point in fighting. But our main character is still mad. His jaw still hurts from that punch, and he wants some sweet payback. To stop the fight, Havoc brings up Jiu's massive item sales. A shocked Jiu asks how he knows. Turns out, the mystery whale who spent 15 billion gold on his items was none other than Riot herself. Meanwhile, over at Yopei's camp, the ancient hero stands next to Luna. He slowly realizes how many years have passed since his death. Now watch closely as Luna explains that he was supposed to revive much later, but since the timeline is a complete mess, she just woke him up early anyway. He thanks her, promising to return the favor someday. When she asks where he is heading, he calls her lust, one of the 7 deadly sins, and says his path is obvious. Suddenly, massive dragon wings spread wide with a deafening roar. He takes flight toward the mountains, charging up a deadly fire blast. Below him, terrified skeleton soldiers run for their lives. Yopei declares he will destroy the very world he once saved. With a flash of teleportation magic, he vanishes, leaving Luna standing in the smoke. She sighs deeply, telling herself her job is done. But deep down, she wonders if this was a mistake. With Huracan, she followed her heart, but this situation is completely different. She only revived him to fix a loose plot point. A divine voice tells her to just relax and enjoy the show, looking down at